Good evening, everybody. Welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 435, jeez, already. And tonight we have none other than GM Mark Wiley. So if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. And if you have questions, please put them in the comment section. I will be sure to get to them. However, if they're not in the stream of the conversation, I will definitely write them down and put them where they're more appropriate, just so not to disturb the current conversation and where we're talking about. Without further ado, here he is, GM Mark Wiley.
For inviting me, Dean.
Hey there, how are you?
Hey, Dean. Very good. Thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate it. Always good to see your smile.
Absolute honor. Yeah, I mean, matter of fact, folks that are watching, you were last on, I think it was episode 118, which is a blockbuster, 2,300 views. Then you came back on, which I think definitely up there when you came on with the KI theme, when you came on with Brandon.
Oh.
So, yeah, which is also a phenomenal episode. So, yeah, I think the honor is to have you on, for you to take time out of your day. I mean, yeah, so no worries on that. We're just happy to have you. And but we'll be a little different than last time. Last time when we had you on, we really focused on your bio, you going as a young man over to the Philippines and coming, I mean, just incredible. And folks, I highly recommend, if you have not seen this episode, I would highly recommend you watch episode 118. Just incredible. Yeah, so definitely check that out if you have not already. But tonight we're going to take a little different paths, kind of projects that he's been working on, what he's been doing outside of FMA. And of course, we will get into some FMA in the system and that. We got some questions from folks. So without further ado, again, I've told many folks, you have been such an inspiration to me for getting to FMA. When this came out, I couldn't stay out of it. It just, which led me to, I don't know if it was a curse or a blessing. Chaos.
Curse. Let me give a little bit of perspective on that. So the Serada book, Angel Kabbalist, the late Grandmaster, asked me to write 6 books on Serada. I only got the one, series of 6, and he outlined them for me. We were in his kitchen. Jerry Preciado was there. Darren T-Bone was there. Some of the other big Serada guys asked me to do 6. And I'm going to say 19 or something. I didn't know how to write. I didn't know what I was doing.
19.
And I was like, why are you asking? Like, how come you're asking me? And he said, because I know you're a good man and you don't live in Stockton and everybody fights in Stockton. I was in Philadelphia. Right?
Interesting. Okay.
And a lot of people had been asking him to do books with him for a long time. So this is where a lot of this kind of rift came in with people, yelling at me at my book when it came out. And sadly, it came out like 3 months after he passed. So he wasn't there to run interference.
Oh, no. Oh, he couldn't regulate community.
But, he hand wrote the forward for it and gave it to Darren T-Bone. Darren gave it to his wife to type up, gave it back to Angel, and he mailed it to me. And I still have the letter, the post stamp, the stamp on it from the post office, his handwriting on it, his signature on it. And still people today say it's fake and I forged it. It's like, come on, man. Anyway, but what happened was after that book, I was just like, what's the difference between Arnis and Escrima and Kali? And I don't know, nobody could answer the question for me. And so I started doing more research and collecting all the information I could. This is before the internet, before Facebook, before YouTube. You had to get introductions to people from other people to go meet the teachers, like it's not like today where everybody's like, oh, wait, I can just put myself out there. So writing that book on martial culture was hard. It was my master's graduate thesis in college for anthropology. It was so hard to pull together because there's just not a lot of information, right? I mean, there's no videos. I mean, none of those, half of the people weren't known in the United States.
At that
Illustrici.
time, it was just so amazing what you did. I mean,
Yeah,
I tell everybody, you brought
98,
those guys
97.
business. Like you brought the Western Hemisphere
Yeah,
went directly there to go train with them as a result of you in your book. And I don't care what
yeah.
anybody says, that is just fact. Um, and it also
I
what
want
it
to
did
give a
over
big
here.
shout out to GM Ray Galong because he made those connections with me. He accompanied me on my first trip. He
Okay.
introduced me to Tupper and Tony Diego and Tatan. And, because of, I think we may have even gone twice together.
Mm,
Um, but he opened those doors, those initial doors for me into the Bakbakan Illustrissimo group. And from there, I met other people, right?
that's just
So
oh.
I owe him a lot for that.
We got folks saying hi, GM. We got Terry from Stockton. Speaking of Stockton, we got Maynard and we got Alvin. Hey Alvin, nice thank you, Maestro Alvin. Good guy. Maestro Alvin. We gotta get you on here still. You keep saying no, you're dodging the bullet. Okay, here's a question. Actually, we got Eric O'Brien, Kelly. Oh, Dr. Kelly. And we got Kurt and Eric O'Brien, that crazy guy from Florida. Here's a question. You when you reference the 6 books,
Yeah.
which is credible for a 19-year-old to do, or for any age for that matter. But his question is, what were the other Serada volumes going to cover?
So I could be wrong because I don't read my books after they come out. They're not my references because I have the original the
That's so
references
funny.
that
I don't watch my episodes.
see,
People are like,
same
you don't
thing.
watch your episodes? I'm like, I couldn't listen
It's
to
like
myself.
musicians who are like, I don't listen to my own albums,
Yeah.
But I think I put in the back of the second Serada book we put out, Secrets of Kabbalah Serada, the breakdown of the 6 volumes. It could be in an appendix if you happen to have it. So I think there was going to be one book on lock and block and flow sparring, one book on disarming, one book on fainting and Inganyo strikes, book on empty hand.
Picking, right?
Fainting. Yeah, picking.
See,
Yeah.
I'm a Kabbalist. No,
You are. Picking. And so here, when Angel would say to me, you have to do picking, right? You will pick him. And I'm thinking he's like, pick. So you're going to select, right? I'm going to select my angle, my target, right? So I'm going to fake and pick my target. And then when I was in the Philippines talking to, I don't know who it was, and I said, yeah, in Serada we call this, they were saying it's engaño, and I, fainting. And I said, in Serada we call it picking. Oh, picking. Yeah, faking. That's good. Faking. It's Filipino accent. Picking is faking. But Angel said it really thick. Picking. Right?
That's how that. I was gonna say, like, it's so funny. I never asked. I just didn't want to rustle feathers in the Kabbalist community, but I'm like, why would they call it picking?
Call it
But
picking.
that totally makes sense now.
Yeah. So it was just his accent, and that's how he said it. And in the Philippines, they said he's saying faking, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But he says picking, right? And which I thought, like, pick your strike, pick your opening. I don't know, but it's engaño. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just make sure we got Frank, Chris Chu, Greg, Danny Terrell. All right, guys. If you've got questions, put them in there. Okay. So again, folks, if you're just jumping in, this I highly recommend you watch episode 118 when we first had GM Mark on here. Incredible episode. But this episode here, we're not going to be going through the whole bio. If you want to hear that and know that, I highly recommend that episode to you. 2,300 views due to him. So incredible episode. So again, I just, it's so, like when I first got this book, okay, folks, this book did it for me. I can't just tell you the profound effect and inspiration and to my journey, what this book has done. And, it's so funny. I remember looking at this book, I was so jealous of you. I was like, this guy.
All the money and time it took to do it. Yeah.
I know, but I'm thinking like this guy is over there seeing all these grandmasters at this young age. And I remember telling my friends, like, and this and that. But at the same time, I was in such an awe and pristine of just like your accomplishment and what you brought to the Western civilization. But when I was going through this in '97 or thereabouts when I first got it, I would have never imagined that I would be talking to you on a podcast.
Oh, thank you.
What
I
I mean?
appreciate
It's like
being
so
on.
surreal. When I first had you on, I tell you, there are a few episodes that get me nervous and anxiety. People may never know it. Going on with you, I'm like, oh my God, Mark, I got, I make sure all my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted. This outline is going to go in nice chronological order. There's not going to be any hiccups. I mean, it's just like,
I'm terrible.
and
I
the first
say.
time I had Dr. Kelly Warden on,
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, because he's a tough dude, man.
he
I
knows
was
his stuff. Yeah.
like, we gotta make sure, you know what I mean? But yeah, there's a few people that really have got me nervous about like, okay, oh my God, you know what I mean? And you being one, so obviously a compliment to you. But again, folks, must have. If you don't already have it, I mean, must have. Yeah. Um, so, all right, I want to get into some of these things. Like, since the last time we
Can I
spoke, I know you
can I
have.
answer
That's fine.
Alvin Albano's question first?
Oh yeah. Please do.
He said, how did I select
I
the
missed that.
instructors to include in the book? Well, it was a matter of selecting who pulled out. So there were
You have folks
plenty
that
of
pulled
teams.
out.
Oh yeah, yeah. So for example, uh, Remy Presas was in there for his chapter. I have his interview still on audio tape, and then when I wrote it up, and then we met, and he read it, and then he saw who else was in there. He said, maybe we'll talk again another time, and we'll do a different interview. So
Really?
that interview didn't make it into the book, but I put
Hmm.
plenty of his pictures around and gave him
Sure.
credit for all
Yeah,
kinds
you
of
get
stuff.
credit. Okay.
Yeah. Tony Diego didn't get it. He was when he saw the finished book, he threw it across his gym. He was so mad at me because he didn't get his own chapter, but Tupper got a chapter and Yuli's on the cover. And I said, well, it was only heads of systems, right? Not second down or third down. And so he's included in with Tatang in the pictures. He's included throughout the book in different pictures because he's not head of
Mm.
Illustrissimo system. And he said, well, I'm just flowery in your book. And he tossed it and he got real mad. And Tupper and Alex Coe had to calm him down. And they're like, and then they were so mad. Tupper and Tony were so mad that Yoli was on the cover because he had already started his own thing,
Okay.
and Tony was the, heir, so to speak, right, from
Correct.
Tatang.
Yeah.
And they said Tatang should be on first or Tony should be second. And I said, I'm not the publisher. They choose. It's their right in the contract to choose. And that picture of Yuli was colorful and really cool looking and colonial.
Can't argue that.
That's a cool picture. On the Illustrissimo book, I mean. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
On the
Yeah. But even
Illustrissimo
so,
book.
though, if I look at this, it's still.
It looks like, yeah. No.
It's still
They were mad
capacity,
about
though.
Yoli being on the cover of the
Yeah.
Illustrissimo book that I edited for them. So it's always a problem. But Leo Gahe was in the book. Leo pulled out.
So, folks, here's the book he's referencing. Another must-have too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Leo Gahe was in the book. Leo pulled out. And he said, and then I put him in the Escrima Disarms book, and then he pulled out of that book at the end. Because how can you have a book called Escrima Disarms when I'm Kali? I said, okay.
Oh no! Here you are trying to do it's frustrating. I can't imagine. I mean, I've nowhere gone through some of the things that you're mentioning as far as on a very smaller scale. No, I won't come on the show because he's going to be there, or you had him for like a couple of those times, and I'm just like, here I am trying to highlight you, and give your 15 those were some tough moments.
I think Matt Marinas had pulled out, but then I got him to go back in because how can you put Professor V in there or this guy, because they trained with me too. and they're my student. How can my student be next to me in the book? And then he got all mad because Porfirio Lanata said some things that didn't match up with what Matt said. So then there was this whole problem where Matt's yelling at me, how could you let him say that? I said, I'm not in charge of what they say.
That's
The
another
book
thing
is
too that comes on
basically,
here.
right.
Yeah, like
The book is basically
questions.
the history and culture per the research that I could do at that time, right? 173 references in the back, most of which you couldn't buy in the West. And then each teacher, I let them tell their own story of their own style and their own training. And if it didn't match up with what's in the other part of the book, I was leaving it to the reader to decide, so I wasn't passing judgment on the masters.
That's what you could do. And here's the thing too,
Right.
like I'll do this on interviews. Like I'll get people that have no idea what I get on the back end. I just don't pull it in after my discussion to keep the drama out. But it's like, did you check, sources of what he said and all that? And I'm like, I don't have the time to do that. Are you kidding me? I'm doing it on my own time. I don't have time to go like research.
Let them go research it. Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm hoping they're going to come with integrity. They're going to be honest, or to the best of their recollection, far as memory, depending on how old they are. But yeah, that's not our job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then the other thing is that the book was about 6 chapters longer.
And than originally planned?
It was written and done about 6 chapters longer. And the publisher in Japan, Tuttle, said, it's too long. It's going to cost too much to print. It'll be at too high of a price. So we're going to take out chapters X through whatever. So a whole bunch of material was just
really. Were those now the material that was extracted? Were those the bios or just other?
No, those were that was more kind of cultural stuff, anthropological ritual meanings. So I put some of those chapters in a book called Arnis Reflections. Yellow cover, Ramiro Estelili is on the cover of that one. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So some of those, I think 3 or 4 of the chapters went in there. And then the other ones I just didn't put anywhere yet. But.
How old were you when you put this book together?
Oh, so it came out in 97. I was born in 69, 27, 28.
That's still incredible for that age to put all that together. I mean, and the community wasn't the best to you. I mean, who does he think he is? I mean, just I'm like, man, this guy put money in people's pockets over there, and what he did to
revived it, really. Yeah.
It's just terrible.
I want to say something about Illustrissimo. If you want to do one more Illustrissimo podcast, because you didn't talk to Grandmaster Rene Navarro, he's my son's godfather. He lives an hour from me. He comes here all the time. He was a private student of Tatang's uncle, Tinga, Guillermo Tinga. So he has another perspective on the Illustrissimo.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah.
If he wants to come on, I'd be more than happy to do it.
Mm-hmm. So he's 82. He's 82 now. So he goes to sleep early. So you'd have to find a weekend day where you could do it in the morning, and I'd set it up with him, have him come here to my house.
On with him. You can even jump on with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to do that. Yeah.
Johnny Chutin and Guillermo Tinga, and he created and choreographed the salutation for Arnis de Abanico. What's it called? The oh, come on, where's my brain? The oh, come on. La Punti Arnis de Abanico, La Punti, that style. Yeah. So he created the salutation with the scissor step and the down and the back and the whole thing. So he was around a long time.
So where's he live now? Close to you?
He lives in Easton, PA. It's about an hour north of me. Yeah.
I would be honored to have him on. I'm trying to think why.
He's in Edgar Sulite's book, The Masters of Arnis. He's in that book.
Okay, which I have. Okay.
Yeah.
All
right. Yeah, he's been around a long time.
And you're in touch with them pretty frequently?
A couple times a week. Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah, he comes here and we work out. We work on stuff. I'm publishing a book of his that's about 600 pages. and it's like 4 chapters on FMA, all different chapter with Tinga, chapter with Lapunti, a chapter with Johnny Chutin, Lao Kim. He studied the Kung Fu and all this Tai Chi and meditation and Qigong and his whole, I mean, incredible book with thousands of photographs. I mean,
Jeez.
he was in the 60s studying Arnis in the 60s
That's
in the
incredible.
Philippines. Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away since hopefully he'll come on for an interview. But far as Illustrissimo, he trained with Tatang's uncle, correct?
Yeah. Tinga.
So so the brothers and all right. So what
so at least it would be a little offset, family still in the family.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But so I'm gonna assume some similar stuff to what Illustrissimo did. Okay, all right. Wow, that's what a treasure. Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
And some really great old photos of. So Tinga is also in Edgar's book, Masters of Arnis. He's got a chapter, so you can see some pictures. But Rene had a whole bunch of photos of him that he took way back. So this book has really got a lot of cool stuff in it. This book I'm publishing for him. Yeah, I love sitting with the old guys and talking. And
oh my God, that's like treasure.
Soaking in. That's why I started this new podcast, Transformations, which I think you were leading into. But
which, I'm going to get to. But before we get to that, which I'm actually going to get into, so how did this come about? How did you're like a Renaissance man. You're an author, film, podcast.
Okay, so that's another heartbreaking story.
Oh no, I don't want to bring up a heartbreaking story.
I'm gonna write my memoirs, and it's going to be called "Remembering the Life I Always Wanted."
Oh no, we don't have to talk about it. If it's
no, it's fine. in like 1995, I went to New York. I used to go to New York all the time. It's only an hour and a half on the train from Philly, right? Or we drive up or whatever. And I would go to New York all the time in high school, maybe one weekend a month, and just one day a month on a weekend and hang out and walk around. And let me just interject something real quick. So there's an author who's passed away named Oscar Roddy. He wrote a book called Secrets of the Samurai and one called Aikido and the Dynamic Sphere, 2 thick hardcover books filled with drawings all in it that he did. And he was a mentor of mine and told me after I gave him my Serada book, he said, that's like our Aikido book. Now you have to go broader. Secrets of the Samurais, all Japanese arts. And he said, you need to do that for the Philippines. And that was him saying that to me gave me the almost like the belief that I could do it, because I didn't think I could do it. Yeah. So anyway, so I was in New York and I was walking around Chinatown, and in the walk down basement, below the sidewalk, there's mainly it's stock for restaurants and stuff, but there's some clubs down there. And there was a martial art club, and I tried to go in and they stopped me and they said, no, Chinese only. And I was like, okay, so I walked Chinatown in Little Italy, you have to cross Canal Street, right? And then Mulberry Street runs the other direction, right? So it's like a crisscross. So I walked from Chinatown across the street into Little Italy, and I was eating some Italian, I got chicken parm or something. And I was thinking, like, what if a Chinese guy came to try to eat Italian food and the guy said no? And I said, but, that's not, what if you tried to join the mob? Like, because I'm trying to join the Chinese association that's private. So the Italian has the mob that's private. So if a Chinese guy tried to join the mob, what would happen? And I just thought it was a funny concept. So I thought about it forever. And then in 1999, I wrote an outline for a story about a Chinese kid who tries to join the mob from Chinatown to Little Italy because he wants to date an Italian girl. She only dates wise guys. And I thought that could be funny. And then I started writing it out, but I started going dark on it. Like, they accept him in, then they make him burn down his family's grocery store to prove he's loyal. And I was like, man, I don't want to go there. So it by 2001, I had the first draft script done of it. And I couldn't get anybody to look at it. You know, I didn't know anybody in Hollywood or anybody in the industry. I knew James Liu, who's a stuntman and sometimes actor. But I really didn't know anybody. So everybody I sent it out to either didn't respond or they sent it back and said, we can't read this for legal reasons unless it comes through an agent. And okay, so by 2001, I had 5 books out. So I tried to get an agent and I couldn't even get a book agent. Like there's been no help for me. Right. So if I can't get a publishing writer's agent, then how am I going to get a screenwriter's agent? Like who's going to represent me? They won't let me do it myself. But I didn't need an agent before because the work spoke for itself. So I kept working on it, making the story better and better and funnier and funnier. And then I was telling the story about when I went to Chinatown that I just said to a kung fu teacher in New Jersey, Chinese guy. I don't want to mention his name, but he said that, just in case he doesn't want me to, he said, that sounds like my story. Because when I was 13, I moved from Fujian, China to New York City, lived in Chinatown, and we had to catch the bus to school. And they let us off on the Italian side of the street. And I used to get picked on. And then one time the mob guy's son dropped his wallet and I picked it up and I went into the pizza shop that I went in every day for a slice and to return the wallet. And the son said I stole the wallet. So they started beating me up in the basement. And then the father came down, was a honcho of some kind, and said, prove that he stole the wallet. And he said, I didn't steal the wallet. All the money's there. The license is there, the credit, whatever. And he said, yeah, it's all here. So they adopted me. And every day I could get pizza for free. Wow. So he said, I think your story's pretty good. Let me get the money for you from China. So I said, I have another script, a kung fu movie, like old school Shaw Brothers I wrote called The Dragon Letters. I said, let's get $3 million and we can do both movies, right? The one will shoot in China and it's cheaper, and the other one will shoot here, made in Chinatown. So he went out and after like 4 months, he had raised the money for it. And it was like, wow, that's amazing. So I got a casting director and we started casting Made in Chinatown because the money was going to be transferred in X amount of days or weeks. And then we got a new president named Donald Trump who waged a war with China, a trade war with China. And all the banks shut down. And China said, we're not sending any more new investment to the U.S. So the money stayed at the bank in Beijing and couldn't transfer. But now I was on the hook contractually to pay actors because we had signed the deal that they would get 40%, the bigger actors, the guys from Sopranos, up front. Yeah. And I had paid Lo Mang, a promissory to pay Lo Mang he was the Toad in the Five Venoms, then Kid with the Golden Arm. So he was going to fly in from Hong Kong to do the movie. And it's like, well, shit, now we don't have any money for either movie. What are we going to do? So I called some friends. A guy I know was he was the executive producer of Texas Walker Ranger and this Chuck Norris thing. And he associate producer on Enter the Dragon. He put Sammo Hung in Enter the Dragon to have Bruce Lee grapple around with him in the beginning. And I said, hey, is this true about the money? He said, yeah, all my money's tied up. I can't get it out of China. He has a studio in China. He said, I can't get my money out of China. It's real. And I said, until that thing gets settled, they're not going to release any new funds in. So good luck. So I ended up connecting with an old coworker who knew some guys who knew some guys. And those guys, let's just say, well, anyway, a couple of Italian guys who put in the money for the movie.
So their names ended in a vowel. The guy.
Yeah. I don't want to say they're in cement and contracting and on the no-fly list.
No. Waste management.
Waste management. Yeah. But so they ended up putting up 2/3 of the money for Made in Chinatown. So we started production. Yeah. And it was so fun.
This is such an awesome story. Like for what happened to you way back, that culminated into. I thought it was a neat satire. I thought it was pretty funny. I thought it was.
I think it's fun. Oh, you won that DVD, didn't you? Because you did a thing that we did an awards thing for promotion.
So I had remember the choices I had?
Right. You could get a phone call from Tony Darrow.
No.
Was that it? Oh, or the pasta sauce, was it?
It was either the pasta sauce or was this. And I'm like, I'm taking this.
I'm taking that. Yeah.
So, folks,
that was
really
made
funny.
in Chinatown. It's on Prime. It's on Tubi. It's on.
Yeah. But what a cool story. So you got 2/3. It's going. Then what? And he's frozen. Oh no. Okay, folks. Hopefully he can get back in. Question is, do I X him out now? Or let me see here. Lovely technology. Just when things are always getting good. All right, I'm going to X him out. He's definitely frozen for the count. Okay. Yeah, the infamous blue screen. Okay, so hopefully he'll get back, but definitely anytime the blue screen comes up, it's always an internet issue. So I'll send him a quick message. But at any rate, what can I talk to before he comes back? Again, folks, funny. Yeah, I mean, now it's short view. I think, I don't know, hour and 30 minutes or so, but really funny. Some soprano actors in there and all that. It's, again, like he mentioned, in Little Italy, which, yeah. Renee, geez, my wife did mention that she saw a stranger out there walking back and forth on the road. It must have been you. All right, guys, I'm just gonna send him a message. Can you? And he's here. All right. Okay. No need.
Should I X him out now?
Yeah, you were on. No. I'm just glad you got back in and sent out the dog. Yeah, I know. Renee's out there wandering around. That's not good. So, but
yeah. Hey, somebody mentioned here Dances of the Emerald Isle, so I went and grabbed it off my shelf.
Okay.
Why? Because I saw it before you cut me out. And then there's another really good one called Pangalai. I don't know if you can see it with the light reflecting, but that's another great book on the ancient dances and stuff in the Philippines.
Wow, that's neat.
Yeah.
So we were okay. So when you went frozen, what I had asked was, okay, so you generated 2/3 of the money, okay, and enough sounds like to go. You got some pretty funny actors in there, man. The soprano characters.
Yeah. So what happened was we hired. Okay. So the guy who Lomang agreed to come in from Shaw Brothers, and then we got another movie guy from Korea, Hwang Jung Lee, the Taekwondo guy, and he did a lot of movies early on. I think he did with Jackie Chan, and he was known as like rubber legs. He could kick, and I thought Lomang's Chukam Mantis against his legs would be a great battle. But our president at that time also shut down all kinds of immigration coming into the country. So he got stopped at the border and sent back to Korea. They wouldn't let him in. So at the last minute, we called Chu Chi Ling from Kung Fu Hustle and Jackie Chan movies, and he came out that night on a red eye to fight with Lomang in the opening scene of the movie. And we had like 15 minutes to choreograph a fight with them, which is why it's a little bit short. But having those two legends together, they, in the opening scene, I thought was pretty cool.
No. It's funny. Like they're at the table, like
on the table
when he's in the deli. When he's in the deli, he's trying to.
The deli scene was the first scene I wrote. The very first scene I wrote was, how funny would it be for a Chinese kid to go into an Italian deli and shake the guy down for money? And the guy's like, you're not even Italian. And when I wrote that, Barack Obama was president. So I had a line that, who knows if it would have gone over or not, but he's like, hey, you're not even Italian. How can you shake down the deli? And Vinny Chow, the Chinese kid, says, hey, a black guy's president, all kind of new things are happening, so racist. But like, why can't a Chinese guy be in the Italian mob? So I had that scene was so long with one-liners. The deli man, he passed away. 3 guys died after the movie, and 4 restaurants closed down. So don't be in one of my movies, okay? So he.
Yeah, but that was mostly COVID, though. I mean, I mean,
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. But I'm just saying,
yeah.
you know.
No, I know. Yeah,
But
those.
his
Yeah,
name was Jeff, the fat rat bastard Parami, and he had a weekly show at the Borgata in Atlantic City, where he did called the Borgata show, Bodega show, where they were women were dancing in like, you know, old time bodega outfits in between his stand up bits. He was so funny, and we just had all these lines back and forth, you know, to get the dialogue right, and you know, it was like Vinny's there with the Italian girl trying to impress her, shaking down the deli. And the guy goes, "Hey, cute couple, do you like 69?" And he's like, "I love beef and broccoli." Because for Americans, all the dishes are numbered.
our
I'll have number
numbers.
17, number 4. You'll say, "Can I have General Tso's chicken?" They're like, "Okay, 32." So that joke is like for people who order from Chinese restaurants, you like give me a 7 and a 14. So he says, "Do you like 69?" And the Chinese kid says, "I love beef
Oh
and
my
broccoli."
God.
The other thing is because I
It's,
was trying, it was a satire. It's a satire. I had the Chinese mob boss Lo Man quoting Charlie Chan, who was a white actor pretending to be Chinese back in the day. You know, the old Charlie
yeah.
Chan mysteries in black and white. So I had him quoting Charlie Chan like he's Confucius. Charlie Chan say, "Men who run in front of car get tired." It's like a double. So there was all this shit that most of that got cut out because it made the scenes too long. But the behind and the guys from Sopranos, we sent it to Tony Sirico, who was Paulie Walnuts on the Sopranos,
Yeah.
and he was going to play Al Capella, the head of Manhattan mob, and we had Burt Young from Rocky playing Condimento, who sells the condiments in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And that's why it's set in a boxing gym, because he was Rocky's trainer in Rocky,
Yeah.
Paulie from Rocky. But both of them their doctors pulled them out the same week because they had some illnesses, they're having trouble remembering lines and different things.
Oh.
So I bumped up Vinny Pastore, who was Big
Yes.
Pussy in Sopranos, up
Yeah.
to Condimento, and then he said, "Hey, pull in Tony Ray Rossi from Analyze This and Donnie Brasco to come in and play the underboss." I said, "Great." And then I said, "Well, we still need an a cappella." And he said, "Call Tony Darrow." And I was so scared to call Tony Darrow because his father was big in Italian associations, let's just say. And
Yeah.
he was in Goodfellas, his first movie, Goodfellas. He owned the restaurant and got hit with the bottle over his head.
Yes.
He was
Yeah.
in 6 Woody Allen movies and Analyze This, Analyze That, Mickey Blue Eye, like all this stuff. And I called him up, and the ringtone was Sinatra's "Come Fly With Me," and I'm like, "Oh man!" And then
Yeah. Come fly with me.
"Come fly with," and then he answers the phone. I'm like, "Hi, may I speak to Tony Darrow?" And he's like, "This is Tony." And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, can, I'd like you to be in my movie, da da da. And he goes, "Well, this is how it's going to go down. You're going to pay me the same that you pay the other people. The billing is going to be the same. If it's alphabetical, it's alphabetical. If not, who has the most movies, I get the lead. You're going to pay me this. I'm only going to work this many hours." And I was like, "Okay." Turns out he's so nice. He's like my big brother. We talk twice a week, probably. He calls in just to text to check on my wife, who's been sick with cancer for
Oh, that's
years.
so awesome.
Yeah, we've gone out to eat, my wife and him and his wife, and he's just the sweetest guy. And he came out when we did the auditions in Philadelphia. He drove 3 hours to sit with us to watch. So every time someone auditioned, I turn around and he'd go. I'm like, "Okay."
That is so.
Yeah.
I tell you, the last time I've been, it's. I mean, what used to be like in the '80s, as far as Little Italy, is no more. It's just. But the culture. I mean, people don't understand. It's just. I remember my parents would take me down there, and it was like a big deal, like the feast. I
Oh,
mean, San Gennaro. I mean, it
yeah.
just. I mean, it's just
Really.
huge, and
Yeah.
but it's gone. It's sad.
It's
It's
basically like
gone.
one street and a corner left, of
It's
Little Italy.
gone. It's so sad. It's just
Yeah.
like, and I know, but
Yeah.
that's, I mean, again, folks, if you're just jumping and catching, definitely worth watching.
Everybody
Pretty
go
cool.
on tonight, please, and hit play, even if you go to bed, so I get the credit for the watch, because Amazon's saying we're not getting enough views. So, and YouTube and everywhere else. So we need more views. There was no money for marketing, so it's just, if you know about it, you look for it. If not, it just,
Yeah. So,
Um,
you're watching. Go on
so
YouTube, hit play. Yeah.
hit play. That's it. And then watch it and laugh. Um, yeah, we finished. We shot 22 days in Philadelphia and 1 day in New York. It's set in New York, but Philly we have the Italian market. We have Chinatown.
That's where in Philly, there's still a decent. I
Yeah.
mean, people don't know. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we shot most of it in Philly, and then we shot exteriors in New York, like going through Columbus Park, the Welcome to Little Italy sign, walking down Mulberry Street, Grand Street,
Well,
Canal Street, and then walking in toward a building, and then you're in Philly. And then when you open the door, we're in Philly. But most people don't know,
I think it's just
We
very,
finished
very
the
solid.
shoot and we ran out of money, because all during the shoot, I was having other investors come to the set, meet the actors, promising to put in money. In the end, they just wanted to meet the actors and be on set. They didn't put in the money. So it took another 9 or 10 months, and my wife and I had to scrape together. I mean, rough. It was rough, because you don't pay out. I mean, we ended up getting, just tons of legal bills for that problem, and tons of problems. And then COVID hit. So we couldn't go into the theaters at all.
Yeah, right.
So,
You're talking
and
about
then we had
timing.
4 or 5 different editors on it. And finally I had to sit there and do the final edit, because they didn't understand the movie. They thought it's a serious movie. And how come the dialogue sounds funny? Because it's a comedy,
Because it's comedy. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, a Chinese kid trying. I mean, what do you think? It's not.
So I get a call on set one day in pre-production, probably a week before we started filming. So it's like 5 or 6 weeks. You have to
Yeah.
go out and find your locations, sign the agreements, get all your union paperwork together, and get the actors ready. And the directors have to come in. The stunt guys have to start practicing. And I get a phone call and it just says Hollywood on it. So I answer the call and it says, "Hello, Mark. This is Raymond J. Barry. I'm in your movie." I almost shit myself. Raymond J. Barry is the second lead in my favorite movie, Year of the Dragon, opposite Mickey Rourke, where it's about gangs in Chinatown. It came out in the mid 80s. And then he's been in, I don't know, 50, 60 films, 30 TV shows, Dead Man Walking. He was Sean Penn's father, and Born on the 4th of July, Tom Cruise's father. He's been in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. The wrong kid died. That's him. He's been in so much stuff, and I didn't even send him any. His agent was an agent of one of the other actors and passed him the script, and he said, "I want to be in the movie." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Send me the script, the final script." I said, "Okay," and I hung up, and there was no part for him in the movie. But how do you say no? So I wrote a part in for him in the movie as the crooked crime commissioner, Sean O'Grady. And he came in and nailed it. He's the guy who comes out in the beginning and says, "We are the original crime syndicate, started centuries ago by Marco Polo," and he just was great. He was so cool in it.
No,
The
just
movie's called Made in Chinatown. Made because a made guy in the mob, and he gets made in Chinatown. And Lo Mang steps on his face and says, "No one gets made in Chinatown," and stomps on him and makes him blank out before the big fight in the warehouse at the end, towards the end.
Definitely again. Yeah, so folks, go to YouTube, just hit the button, play. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a cartoon. I don't know if any of the viewers looked at the New Yorker magazine. It's kind of New York metropolitan thing, but in it are line drawing cartoons. and under them is like a caption. So there was a cartoon in one issue I saw in a doctor's office. Maybe it was at my dentist when I was, I don't know, 18 or 19, that I clipped out and kept. And it was a guy on a mountaintop, like a yogi, right? With a long beard, sitting and meditating at a mountaintop. And there was a guy with a grappling hook, and he's right at the top of the mountain. He goes, "Sir, are you wisdom?" And the guy's pointing. He says, "No, I'm knowledge. Wisdom's on the other peak." So the two homeless sages in the movie are wisdom and knowledge from that cartoon.
That's
from that idea. Right. And they end up, they're his conscience that he's talking to. He's talking to himself when he's talking to those two guys. It's his conscience. What do I do? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I thought it was clever. It's cleverly done. I love the actors in it.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it.
No, yeah.
We need the love, guys. Please watch the movie Made in Chinatown. I'll send you good wishes.
Yeah, I'll put a curse on you from. Okay. From there, what gave you? Okay, so what was the inspiration for you wanting to decide to do a podcast? Which, by the way, folks, is Transformations. It's on GM Mark Wiley's YouTube channel. So, what was the inspiration? What made you want to do it, and why?
Well, the first thing is that when I was traveling around Asia, not just the Philippines, but Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, interviewing different masters of martial arts, I was also interviewing healers and shaman and bone setters, because I was born in 6 months. I was super premature. So my muscular development wasn't fully I wasn't ready to come out of the oven, and my lungs were blue and closed, and I was screaming because I couldn't breathe when I came out. So I was in an incubator for 3 months, before I came out.
After with my daughter, 6 months, 4 months.
Yeah. So I've had chronic migraine headaches and musculoskeletal pain through my whole life, like super severe pain. And by the time I was, say by 1992, so whatever that is, 23 years old, I was taking 16 pain pills a day of different kinds of medications. Yeah. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I had been seeing my father both my parents have passed, but my father was a physician and my mother was a psychologist. So they sent me to all different specialists. And
I was going to say, oh my God, you had
my mom was rough, man. Growing up with her, she wasn't really a mother. She was always a therapist. I got beat up in 5th grade. That's why I started martial arts, right? I liked this girl in school, this other big guy, 5th grade, but for me, big guy in school, liked the same girl. And on Valentine's Day, you give the little, I don't know what they are, chalk heart things and cards, out of the packages that you give them to. And he didn't like that I said, "Be mine" on the one I gave to her or something. So we were walking from school to Cub Scouts, and he just ambushed me, tackled me down, was pummeling me. And then, so my mother signed me up for martial arts lessons. But with that came, learn how to defend yourself, grow up, stop being a little pussy boy. My mom was funny.
Thanks, Mom.
And then later on, she was like, I'd come crying about some girl, and she's like, "Why are you so damn neurotic? Get over yourself already. Get therapy." I'm like, "But you're my mom, and I'm 13." So anyway, my mother though had books on the Chinese zodiac and on Buddhism on her bookshelf, and my father had books on acupuncture. He was a physician, on the bookshelf, and that's where that kind of came into me, because I would open them and look through them. And I was fascinated by them. But yeah, so chronic pain, and I was traveling around looking for healers to heal the pain, right? The musculoskeletal pain that, hurt so bad you don't want to train, because it's not like you're fatigued and like, oh, I can't do 10 more reps of this strike or push-ups, or it's like actual pain in the nerves, in the neck, in the discs, in the shoulders, like injury pain, right? So it's amazing I learned anything because I always had to fight through it. And then the headaches were just, I'd be throwing up, seeing spotlight colors from the migraines,
Oh
start shaking in the middle of
man.
the day. It was,
I remember you were talking about this in the first
yeah.
episode. Yeah.
So I was traveling, meeting these different healers, hoping one of them would take the spirits out of me or hit a point, I don't know, give me a nerve.
Mm.
So I always like to interview people and talk to people because of that experience, right? Because if I just go up to some healer or some martial art master and be like, "Hey, man, tell me about your art," they feel like, no. But if you say like, "I'm here to interview you because I have this pain and I need you to heal me," or "Sir, I'm going to put you in my book. Here's proof that I've done one. Can I?" Because so many, Mung Ben Lima didn't want to talk to me. Also, Leo Heron, because so many people had gone and videotaped him, interviewed him for books and videos, and never put the content out. He's like, "I'm not doing this anymore." And it
Oh
took
my
me 2
gosh.
years. Me and it took Tony Samara and I, took us 3 years to get Uncle Leo, to allow me and
Finally
to
do
do
it.
it.
Yeah.
And Mung Ben, it's like I put him in the book. I finally got him. I said, "Listen, you can't have this guy in the book and not you."
You're not being right.
So he just like kept stopping the interview when I was interviewing. I'm like, no, Mung Ben, you have to give me more because his chapter will be 6 pages and yours will only be
Oh
2.
my God.
Right? So when the book came out and I went and I was doing another book after it, he's like,
Yeah.
he like drove all the way from Parañaque, where he was at the time, to come see me and be like, "You actually did it. I'll tell you more now and train with me more now." And it's just like, here's a guy who actually did something. So I have probably, if I put out a weekly show of just on the content that I haven't published for my research,
Yeah.
we could go 3 to 4 years without me having to get any new content. I have videos and audio interviews and 30,000 photos of all the masters, like Illustrissimos, so many people that I interviewed after that book, Filipino Martial Arts.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
All the guys from Paete, the guys in Mindanao I met, so many, and outside the Philippines. So I was thinking about releasing that as a podcast, but I was like, man, then I got to like go through it all, and I got to take it from the audio cassette.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. So let me start with the current people that I'm interested in talking to, like Mr. Yu and Mr. Frank.
Yeah, because you had Matt. Oh, I was Angle 5.
You were Angle 5. Yeah, I was just going to tell a story that was inappropriate. So anyway, but I really love talking to people and digging in deep, right? And everyone who's been on the show, the transformations with Mark V. Wiley, there's a lot of transformations out there. So you have to probably put with Mark V. Wiley to get mine to pop up.
I'm going to put it in the comment section as well,
thanks.
so people get there. Yeah.
But I wanted it to be not just martial arts, but it's actually transformation. So let's discuss our transformative experiences, right? So how an art transformed over time, or how your perspective on training changes over time, how your ideas about teaching change over time. And some of the guests, like half of the guests, don't do martial arts. It's meditation, qigong, kundalini healing, something like that, because those are both of my passions, right? Healing and killing. I don't know, fighting martial arts.
Healing.
So we've been getting some good feedback, and I don't prep any of the interviews. I just talk because I know most of the people.
I thought you did. I mean,
I didn't know.
Yeah, I thought you did really well. I mean, I thought there was a smooth flow. I thought the questions you asked were because I've been on a few interviews now due to the channel, and you definitely asked more of the unique questions as far as and transformation, like your journey now to then, what changed for you, and I thought it was very insightful and unique in that regard. So
I try and dig deeper because this is what I think about all the time. So John Little For people who don't know, he edited
John.
right the Bruce Lee content, right?
Yeah.
So John edited Bruce Lee's content, but I edited John's content. I was John's editor on the first
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
on the
Okay.
first 3 volumes of the Bruce Lee library. I went out to
You were his.
I went
Okay.
out to Iowa, met with John, went to Linda Lee's house, got to play with all Bruce Lee stuff in the like shirts I saw in Dan Inosanto's book or in pictures of Bruce and his sticks, and I was like, oh my god, these are Bruce Lee sticks.
That's
I was
rad.
going nuts. Thousands of pictures on the table. We're going through them to select John and I to select for the books. But John said to me, I said, John, are you training still? And he said, yeah, I'm training. And I said, okay. And he says, I just don't know why I'm training. I said, John. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, what are we training for? It's not like our gang's going to attack the other gang
Yeah.
on Thursday, right? And
What do you mean? That's not going to
as
happen?
adults, we don't get into fights often unless we're assholes, right? Or, you don't have your awareness ready. And
right.
then after you have your basic skills of punching and kicking or getting out of being grabbed or whatever, it's like, why do you keep training? And I was like, yeah, that's a good question. But that was like in, I don't know, what is it, 1998 or 99 or whenever that.
I was going to say, those came out. I remember those books.
Yeah.
And it was late, early 2000s.
Yeah. So that was like 23 years ago or whatever. And I haven't stopped thinking about the why of it. And it's, why did you start martial arts, Dean? Why did you switch from that art to this art? Why didn't you stay with this teacher? Like those questions are questions that I think about for myself. Like, and when I started focusing my own path into integrated Escrima, I had to think like, is it okay for me not to do Serada? Is it okay for me not to do Arnis and not to do BKI or this or that? And it's like, well, why would I want to stay with those names? And here's a list of reasons. And why would I not? And here's a list of reasons. And the main thing is, what's good for my development, just as a person, as an artist, as a stylist, as a whatever. And so I look for those things in the people that I'm talking with in transformations, because people have had a lot of different experiences and in different things. This woman I interviewed the other day, her podcast is coming out, I think, on Transformations tomorrow. Betty Kovacs, she wrote 2 books, The Miracle of Death and Merchants of Light. And her mother, son, and husband all died within 3 years, total, all in car accidents that were all seen in dreams ahead of time. Yeah. And then her son came back after he passed, but he had predicted the day. And she's had these conversations with him. And then her husband did. And then her husband died, and husband and son came back. It's like, that's an experience worth telling, man. Like,
that's,
I went to a pranic healer, I don't know, in 2000. And I had given the guy who took me there a copy of Filipino martial culture, right? And the healer picked up the book, and he's not a martial art guy. And he's flipping through it, and he puts his finger on a page, and he's flipping through it, and he puts his finger on another page. He said, this guy is standing behind you. That was Tatan. And he said, and this guy says he's proud of you, and that was Angel. And like, out of any of the pages he could have picked, or any of the old, masters he could have flipped open, those were the 2. I mean, crazy.
And look at those were your 2 most influential teachers in your journey, your FMA journey.
And these kind of things I believe in. When I went to Malaysia, I went 3 times to write some books that didn't come out. A Silat book and a Salambam, Indian pole fighting book, and Marma Adi, pressure point striking books. I have all the content for it, but never didn't get around to putting them out. So what was my point? Oh, this one Silat master there, I went with a photographer, a friend from Japan, who is from Michigan, and he doesn't believe any of that, anything mystical. He's just very practical, Shotokan guy, and whatever. He's a photographer. So I took him to the Philippines and Malaysia with me. And the publisher of Aslan Ghani, the publisher of the Silat Belladiri magazine, said, I want to introduce you to this one guru and is of White Eagle Silat, this name of the style.
Okay.
And he said, he's Mahaguru Aziz. I said, okay. So we meet the guy, and he's in a real stylish shirt, and he's got sunglasses. He looks just real cool, man. You know, he's probably in his, I don't know, 60 or something at the time. And he says, I'll get changed. And I said, can we set up a recorder and, you know, a video recorder and take pictures? I said, I'd like to see you demonstrate, and I want to interview you about your style, right? This is what I always did. I said, no problem. And he said, the reason we're called White Eagle Silat is because we take on the image and the characteristic and the energy of the white eagle. I said, okay.
Okay.
So no big deal. Until he turned into an eagle. Do you see what I'm saying? So he's, and I'm like shape-shifting. Carlos Castaneda talked all about it. I don't believe it. Until you're in this little publishing office with just, you know, nothing. And we got a video going, and Ron's taking pictures, and I'm watching, and I'm asking questions, and he goes through his jurus, and he does some stuff, and then he puts his hands behind him like eagle wings and looks at me and goes, what? Like, and the face, the beak, the feathers, everything turned into an eagle. I flipped. Me and Ron looked at each other like, are you out of your effing mind? We're like, thank God we got this on video, man. Like, this is the greatest thing ever. And
holy, I would have been like,
yeah, I just wanted to see him turn back. And he was just, you know, and the thing is, on the tape, the video, it's just a guy going, what? It didn't capture the spirit.
You guys,
you saw
seeing this whole unfolding. You were actually seeing this eagle.
It's like, and there was no incense burning, right? And he didn't.
Yeah, right. I'm going to nothing putting the guys water or anything.
There was nothing, and I'll tell you, that was a transformative experience, right? I did an interview for Martial Art Illustrated in the UK, and I put a picture of him in there, and I gave a little synopsis of that story. But he passed away a few years ago. He had a heart attack. But man, it was crazy. So I'm interested to speak to all different kinds of people about these things, you know. And
yeah, you have a wide variety. Like, I checked out when I was premiering. Like, I mean, you have a kind of like, I saw some obviously some Chinese oriented and all and that, but you have a kind of like a, you know, as far as a wide variety and definitely multi, you know, discipline as far as what they're talking about and have you. And because I'm, you know, the reason I bring this up, I'm looking at these people, and then I see me, I'm like, what the hell am I having to offer with these people?
Yeah, but think of what episode is this? 300, 400 something or what?
This is 435.
You talk to 435 people in FMA. That's a massive amount of people to shape a perspective and an experience, right? But you have your own experience and you have all of the knowledge from those conversations. 435. That's why you were the first FMA guy I talked to, right?
Okay. Oh, because I could give you like all this.
Yeah. Plus, no one's interview. You know, you're giving everybody else a chance, and you know.
No, I was grateful when you asked me. I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, because obviously somebody in your stature. I mean, there's thousands of people you could have freaking chosen for Angle 5.
Angle 5.
So, folks, I was the fifth guest. Hence the reference for Angle 5.
We it's on Spotify. It's on Audible, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and it's on YouTube and Tumblr Media. YouTube gets the video. Everybody else gets the audio.
I just put your channel on here.
Oh, cool! Thanks.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm happy to do. You know, and so I got a question that came from Dan Kukitz. You know Dan, right? What are your thoughts so far? Like, you enjoy doing it? I mean, really?
I love it. I put out 13, and then I started going twice a week because I'm like, I already have 7 more done.
Oh my gosh, that's what happened to me.
Right.
You know, I
But
was
then I'm
doing
like,
once a week. COVID
maybe
kicked
I want to
in.
slow it down because I need more viewers. Right. So there's only, you know, just a little over 600 views on some of them and 120 views on some. It's like, we got to build the
You get
views
over
up.
200. I mean, for me personally, you get over 200. It's pretty good. I mean, obviously, if you're getting 600 on a few, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want like, 30,000, 100,000. I want good numbers.
I know. You're like, I'm just like, yeah, you should get it. You're deserving of that. Whereas I'm just kind of like, all right, that's good. I didn't get that. All right. I enjoyed it though. I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm just like,
yeah,
but you should definitely.
So I got some FMA guys coming up. We've got
who do you got? Who do you got?
Tomorrow I'm talking with Dan Medina. You know, of course, I published his book on DeRobio.
His book, yeah.
And then Dan Anderson. We've been friends forever. You know, Dan doesn't remember when he came out. He called me or emailed me or something to talk to me about stuff. And then I said, hey, you know, do you want to give me some photos for my disarming book? And he said, sure. And then he said, man, I'm such a fan of yours, blah, 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 da, 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 da. I said, Dan, you don't even know that in like 1984, you came to my karate school that I was a member of and taught a seminar on point sparring karate. And you signed my book, American Freestyle Karate. And I snapshotted, I think it was 1983. And I was like, you had the big curly hair. Huh? You know, and he didn't even, you know, why would he remember? I was, you know, nobody, but it's just funny that like, you know, he's like, wow, your work has been
funny.
I was like, no.
You see, all right, that's awesome. Yeah, Dan, I just put your channel. I put the episode you did with me with Elric. And folks, Elric was there, but Elric was like what? In the background, in the shadows.
Oh, he's in the Philippines, man, in the shadows. Yeah, he was producing your episode on the back end.
Because I'm thinking like, oh, he's gonna be on camera too, and then I'm looking, I'm like, Elric's in the shadows.
Yeah, Elric's, that was his choice, you know. But he was helping out when I got started because you need someone in your corner, right? If Oscar Ratty hadn't said to me, do a bigger book, I wouldn't have thought I had the skill or the talent to do it, right? If Angel hadn't asked me to write a book, I was getting C- in English. Like, how am I going to write a book? You know, like that's impossible.
I would have an anxiety attack, man. I'd be like,
I didn't know how to write, so I had to read books on how to write, and then wrote some articles for Black Belt Magazine, 1990, 91 on Angel, and they kept coming back from the editors saying they're not good enough, but I keep trying. And I kept trying, and then finally they published them. In fact, I got him there. But and it was like, okay, now that I know how, I had his feedback, and I could write the rest of the book. And it got rejected 14 times from 14 different publishers. And you don't stop. It's like learning a new technique. You got to keep going, you know?
Yeah, right.
So then I learned how to write. And then, you know, Elric said, look, if you need help with a podcast, I'd be happy to jump on and do stuff. And I was like, wow, someone will show me the ropes, you know, and just having him say, if you do it, I'll help, was enough for me to say, I think I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have
just
a lot of confidence in myself, but I have the belief that if someone's in my corner, I can do it. And then once I start, I don't stop. Like, you know,
he's a good guy.
Ahead in the podcast.
Yeah, you picked a good guy to have like helping you out. Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's funny. I'm like, you make it, but then again, as we know,
Somebody asked a question here: Filipino Martial Culture, Volume 5.
No, I missed that. Sorry, folks.
That's okay. So I'm trying to get the rights back from the publisher so I can republish it in a new edition with, you know, some additional masters in there, more photographs, more information.
Is that going okay, that whole thing?
Well, not yet. You know, I got the rights back for the first Serada book, but, you know, I'm like 23 in the pictures and 130 pounds. It's like, I ate myself for dinner already. I don't know if that one's worth putting out again or not, but
Oh my
um,
gosh.
Robert Small, don't hit anything. Don't look down at your phone. He's driving.
They're watching while driving.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so one thing I'm thinking about doing, Dean, is all of that old archived content that I have.
Which
I
sounds like a
want to
lot.
put it, yeah, I want to put it out, but it's a lot of work, right? So it's like, say I do a thing on Remy prices or Angel among Ben or Illustration. I have video, I have audio interviews, and I have photographs, and I have my story of training with them, right? And their thing. And it's a lot of work to make mini documentaries like that.
Oh my
But I
gosh.
was
You got
thinking,
just
I started a Patreon thing on the transformations, and nobody signed up even for the $1 a month or whatever. But I would make those little documentary videos each week on a different master, right?
I can't see how you would not get.
If there would be a group of patrons who would want it, and those are the people who would get it, right?
But here's the thing, though. I have an idea for you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd be more than happy to do this. And I'm not saying it's good. It would. I think it would help.
I'll take the 100,000 and do them. Fine.
Yeah. Okay. That was good. After the show, we're going to have that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to tell you the vig on it because
the vig. Now you're talking Italian to me. I don't know.
I mean, my relatives. What if? Okay, do you have the Patreon thing set up?
Yeah.
Okay, what if you let's just say you started like whatever next month you got it in there. What if you said to me, I'm gonna just push it through FMA discussion? I mean, like, and all that. What do you think?
Sure.
I mean, it's worth a try, right?
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
No, what I mean is that, like, with 13,000 members in there, we could just say, "Hey, look, go to here."
Yeah,
GM Wiley,
absolutely.
GM Mark,
because
Mark's gonna be like putting content he's never shown before.
I've got so much content, and most of the masters have passed on.
That's
this
is
stuff nobody can see or get.
And it's
audio interviews, it's videos of them demonstrating, and it's photographs, and my commentary on top while we're showing that stuff, right?
You have to do this.
I could do one a week for 3 years,
Okay.
And then if we add in the Indonesian, the Malaysian stuff, and the Chinese stuff, and the healers, I mean, it would go on forever. Great.
But you know what I did? Again, far be it from me to suggest what you should do.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, your accomplishments. But before I started going off into different, like, interviewing different, like, for instance, like C-Lot and different nice systems, I did a heavy 2 years of just FMA, just pounded out. So folks did that. And then I kind of segue into different things in there. But I think the point I'm trying to make is if you, for like whatever, if you just kept putting in there FMA discussion, like FMA, particularly of the guys who have passed, I think they would. I could
just, if we want to do something where we join forces, so to speak, and it's just FMA.
Look who you said, Dr. Kelly. You both make a great team.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I'd be happy to do it as long as people wanted it. Yeah.
I can't see how they would not. Matter of fact, if
I could give the list of all the masters that I have, and we can put them in order. And I would just go through and each one, like, I think, some of them would be 2 or 3 episodes because there's so much content. I mean, hours and hours and hours.
So here's the idea. You would send me whatever, put it in there, and then from there they would go to Patreon to view it. Is that correct?
No, I think, well, I don't know. Maybe somebody who's watching can give us an idea, but usually the way it works is if somebody's a patron at a certain dollar amount, they get different things. So let's say this is whatever dollar amount. And when it comes out each week, they would get an email.
They get a notification
with a link to an unlisted video. So nobody can find it. except the guy who's a patron. Next month, if
Correct.
they're not a patron, like they stop, they don't get the next one, but they keep all the other ones, the links, you know.
Correct.
And then when they come back on, they can patron backwards to catch up. I mean, you know, and it wouldn't be that. I mean, $10, $20. I mean, you know.
I think Darren Friesen does one. A guy who was on here. Lives in Costa Rica. Really interesting guy. He does. It's $5 a month, and he'll put on just like training apparatuses, like
Right.
how to make things.
Yeah.
I mean, but for your stuff, from masters who have passed, and you have this footage that nobody else has, I don't see how folks would not
$100.
pay at least 10, $15 a month. I mean, I would. But when you do
it
this,
takes a lot of
I'm
effort.
sure.
So like on my podcast, I record an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I cut it down to an hour and 15 or hour and 20. And
Okay.
it's not live because some of the questions people stop and they think, and then I did this. Yeah. And if you're listening to it on Spotify or Audible or somewhere else, you can't have 10, 20 seconds of dead air.
No, so you got.
I have to go through the whole thing and clip out all the dead air and the stuttering, and then a lot of people repeat the same story again and again and again to get to a point, and I like cut out the repetitions because it's so
editing.
An average of like 20 to 30 minutes of each podcast gets edited out, and it takes hours to do it because you're listening in sections. Yeah. And then I make the podcast artwork, and that takes a while, and then I have to load it up to the audio only podcasts have to go in a certain way, and then the video in a certain way, and then I do all the chapters by time so people can jump to a chapter place that they want to listen to. They don't have to hear the whole thing. They can see what they want, right? So it's a lot of work. And then if I have to cut video and scan photos and do audio, it's going to be a lot more work, but I'm willing to do it if there's a group of patrons
who are willing
to keep it going.
I'm thinking
because I would hire some help to do it. There's no way I can do it all myself.
All right. Here's an idea I have. Can you send me when this ends, can you just send me your link to your Patreon?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so when you do that, I'm going to put it in FMA discussion tonight. The moment you send it to me, I'm going to say, coming down the pipeline, GM Mark will be
on the Patreon. That's on the if you go to Mark V. Wiley official channel on YouTube, the link is right there. But,
it's right there.
And there's 3 levels of Patreon, but none of them are for this material. Like this is something that
this is how you haven't put out there yet. Correct. Right.
Yeah, because the 3 Patreon levels, I think it's like $5, $10, whatever dollars, is for specific deliverables that I thought the general population would want. But this kind of drill down, like we're talking about, I would make a Patreon just for that. But maybe we could get a consensus, maybe through an email to your members of what would they feel okay about. $10, $20 a month, $10 a month.
I'm telling you right now, if you're going through all that, you have to edit, you have to condense.
I'd have to pay somebody to help
upload it.
Yeah.
To me, that's $15, $20, and I'm telling you, for the old footage of these old GMs and interviews, folks would absolutely pay that. So, so at the end, what we could do is let's definitely talk. So you could send me what I do is I can create a post, a kind of a query-oriented post, and just say, folks, who would you like to hear from that GM Mark has in his vault? And so you got obviously, I mean, all the old GMs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you went over there, right? I mean,
I made 22 trips. I mean, so plus
can you do this?
Asian guys and the Indian guys and the Kung Fu guys, and there's so much stuff.
As far as the FMA guys, when we get off, can you send me a list of the notables? Can you send me a list on the notables? Because then what I could do is I could take that list.
Everyone in Filipino martial culture is there, So
there's enough.
There's a start right there, and then there's probably 20, 30 guys after that I met after that book, So all going to some different places. So yeah.
We got Mike Frazier. Hey, Mike. And wow. And so to take my edge on and transcribe it with segments from the interview, which Personnel analysis of how we perceive it. That would be, yeah. We got to do this for you. Seriously. Send me all that. I'm gonna look in here, and what I'll do is I'll make a post, and let's get the ball rolling on that, man. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to help where I can.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah.
All right,
But
happy to do
in
it.
the meantime, if they don't watch Made in Chinatown, even on
Yeah.
free channels like Tubi, they can't be part of the Patreon.
See,
If they don't watch my free movie,
if you can't even push the play button
they
on
don't hit
YouTube
the
and go
play
to
button and
another
go to
room,
bed. And
and
then
go to another
if
room,
they don't subscribe to Transformations podcast, even if they don't listen to it, they have to show proof of subscription and purchase to to get the FMA content.
That is so funny. They have to show validation.
Yeah, you have to validate two things that don't cost you any money on topics you don't care about in order to get the FMA. What do you think?
You know what?
Hey, blackmail, right? Or I don't know. What's that? That's not blackmail. That's something else. But
I'm showing you my proof. I'm subscribed. So
okay.
I just wanted you to know that. And I watched this on YouTube as well.
Thank you.
I got a few more questions. Okay, here we go.
Sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Your system integrated Escrima.
Yep.
Okay. You're currently doing it. You're pushing it still. Current objectives for your students. Let's go with current objectives of your students, whether they're in person or
they have
distance
to
learning.
Okay. I have what I call a DLP or distance learning program, right?
Correct.
But it's not just videos of me demoing techniques. It's a deep drill down into the art, and it's a principle driven art that follows a set of strategies and principles and concepts, and the whole art is based around that. That's why it's called integrated Escrima. It's the integration of these elements, not integration of other guys' styles. Not at all. It's not like, oh, this is from Angel and this is from this guy and this is from that guy.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing that, right? You have to have a through line and an understanding. So all of that for the first apprentice level is up on integratedescrima.com. You can see a thing, click and go in. The first course is free, right? And on there, for every single thing, I think there's 98 videos and probably 70 or 80 PDFs and diagrams and charts and all kinds of stuff, and a place for students to ask questions and me to respond. And they can put up videos and I'll make corrections on the videos. And what happens is that the students love it, but they don't want to. Only a few people have tested out and gone to the ambassador program, and 2 people have completed that program only. And because instead of, I would like the students, even the students who see me here in person, they're not thinking about the art enough when they leave. It's like I spoon fed too much, so they don't think about it. And I feel like it's all there for the person who wants it. Rather than making it into a book, I put it out onto this platform, right? I mean, there's enough pages for it to be a book, and videos instead of photographs, right? And diagrams. Okay. But it's a super deep down drill. I mean, when I was developing the system was because I had trained with Remy for a long time, Presas, and Angel Caballas and Binias, Arminio Binias. And then I met and Professor V. And then I went and I met Illustrissimo, and I was like, okay.
Yoda.
Yeah, I met Yoda, and I was like, WTF, right? The first day sparring with him, and he's hitting me everywhere. And I noticed
he's watching TV.
And I have the video that I might share sometime for a patron, right?
Oh my! I gotta see that. Oh my God!
And I was like, "This is insane," right? So I went back and I started making. I had 3 poster boards all over the walls, and it had angle 1, inside block, roof block, umbrella block. Angel Caballas does it this way. He's in this range with this foot forward, this many beats. Inasano's guys do it this way, Presas does it this way, Tatang does it this way, Mangben does it this way. And I did that for every counter of every strike, the main counters, not one-offs, right? And I started thinking, like, how come I could always hit this teacher with this combination? Like, you know, a straight or an angle one comes and you can kind of roof block and hit across the waist, right? Like, okay.
Yeah.
So some teachers I can hit it super easy. And other grandmasters, they block it or they're out of the way every single time, no matter how fast they did it. And they're 30 years older than me, you know. So I started making the system based on the principles of the one-offs, the guys who weren't getting hit, or the guys who could, you know, so, oh, his left leg is forward, not the right leg when he does his block. So there, his waist is out. His waist is in a further range, and I can't hit it. All the other 6 teachers, the right leg was forward, so I could hit it because their waist is closer. Okay, so my rule is never do it with the right other waist forward. And it became a strategy, a rule of strategy, right? Of how to hit without being hit, right? It's not just how can I counter you, Dean, but how can I counter you without being countered, right? Without you hitting me back with either hand, right? And then, you know, it started out like that and bloomed into a whole thing. And then there's basically came out that there's 7 rules of range, footwork, and technique amongst all Philippine arts. If you take it down to not just here's all the techniques, anybody can do any technique in any range. And what I found is that I don't want to give a percentage, just say a huge amount of practitioners in the Philippines and here are doing techniques in the wrong range because the depth of the style wasn't being taught that way. It was being taught in muestración or demonstration. Here's a technique, I'm doing it, now you watch and follow and repeat, right?
I got you.
Right.
Okay.
Rather than, here's how you do it, make sure you're in this range, don't cross this line because now you're into the next range. And Tatang taught me that. And he taught it to me just by example. You know, I gave him, I said, Tatang, defense angle 1. He said, okay, pluma. And he does it, pluma, right? And I do it again. He does it again, and he does it again. And I'm like, okay, I got it. Now, he would sit down, and my student would strike me, and I would do pluma. And I'd looking over at Tatang while I'm doing it, you know, like, yeah, good, right? And then Tatang's like bored, you know, and I'm like, Tang, what's wrong? He's like, you don't do what I do. No, I did it exactly. I watched you 4 times. He said, no, let me show you. So I struck angle 1, and he does it different. And I said, oh, okay, you're switching it up on me. I'm not dumb. I see what you did. I'm like, okay, I'll do it now. So it takes me a couple times to get it, and then I'm doing it. And then he looks bored. He's like looking just down. And he's like done. And I'm like, Don, what's wrong? He's like, you don't do it right. I'm like, come on, man. So I didn't speak disrespectfully to him, but this is my insight.
Oh, sure.
Like, come on, dude. I'm like, what are you talking about? So he comes over again, and he does it different. And I said, oh, excuse me, Tang, you did it different. I said, the first time when you did it, your left leg was forward. And this time your right leg was forward. And the first time when your left leg was forward, you went diagonal to your left. And this time you came straight with your right leg forward. And he said, that's because your strike was different. I'm like, what are you talking about? I gave you angle 1. He said, no. I said, yeah. You know, like in my head, I'm like, yeah, I gave you angle 1. He said, the first time you stepped forward with your right foot and you struck angle 1. So I did it that way. The second time, your left foot was forward and you just stand still and struck. My left leg was forward. So my range is different and my angle of my body is different. And he said, and then the last time you're just standing still striking. Because I'm trying to look at what he's doing under my striking arm to see.
Yeah, I'd be doing the same thing.
And he says, you're in different ranges, you're in different angles, the energy is coming differently, the angle is differently, so the techniques to be used to be differently, right? And it's like, Mang Yuli, how are you?
We got also, and Kelly. Yes, he is, Dr. Kelly. Mark is definitely on Facebook. GM Mark.
Yes, please friend me, So yeah, so the whole idea of range and technique, and Tatang said to me, you can't do, and I was doing things like a wing block or whatever you want to call it, and like zoning out, because we all have to zone in our triangles. That's all of our speaking points. And he said, you can't do that defense here. And I said, what do you mean? We do it all, like we as a community do it all the time. And he says, here's why. Boom, and he just nails me under the blow again and again and again. And he said, now put this foot forward and do it. He didn't say it like that. It was do it like this. And he had the other leg forward and the angle was different. And then he couldn't do the counter. And I was like, how come? And he said, because there's a right way to do it. But I couldn't get out of him what was the right way. So I had a talk with Tony Diego. I said, hey, Tony, Tang was showing me these things. And he goes, yeah. And he said, yeah, that's right. And I said, yeah, I know it's right because he was hitting me. I said, but what was the deal? He said, well, because that technique is for medium range and the other's for close range, and you did it out of range. And I said, what? You mean techniques are set for ranges? This is like 1994. I was, because we would everybody just does inside block, outside block, roof block, umbrella block.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we're all just zoning on our triangles and like flowing. And he's like, well, no, you'll get killed if the guy's got a machete and he's striking at you for real and not waiting to counter to do a box pattern, or he didn't say box pattern, but a flow, a 1-for-1. He said, that's not how it's going to work. So I went through all the 26 core techniques of Illustrissimo with Tony, and wrote down the ranges for him. And then I went back to Tatang and got the footwork, what footwork is correct for this one in this range. And the ones that worked in more than one range had a different footwork. Right. And that was just like that experience in 1994 was a transformative experience for me. This is why I call my podcast Transformations, because it set my sights for FMA in a way that, there's rules, there's strategy, there's this and that, and how best to limit your threat of being struck or countered than to only practice the techniques in the range and with the footwork that they're meant to be with, regardless of style. Like I could use that rule for Mang Ben style. I can use those rules for modern Arnis. It's not style specific, right? It's the strategy specific. 2 arms, 2 legs, waist distance, right? Range. And the whole idea of the range measure being fixed, what doesn't matter that you're, 6'9" and I'm 4'1", you're in a different range than me, right? Like if we extend our arms, just say wrist to wrist, right? And you're like in close range on me if you got long arms, and I'm in long range for you. So my defenses are long range. My offense is long range, but my defense is close range because you're in close range, but I'm in long range to you. So you have to keep in mind 2 ranges at the same time. But if you just practice it that way, or if it's equal range, right? And then one's closer in reverse and one's further, it just becomes part of the muscle memory. So integrated Escrima is set in these rules so that we never train the techniques in a bad situation, only in the optimal. Doesn't mean you can't do it another way. Oh shit, and all of a sudden you got to do something or something natural comes up.
Yeah.
But it's categorized in a way and taught in a way to adhere to the principles of being able to counter and strike without being struck, to end the encounter quickly. It's not about the flow. That's why 3 hits, that's Angel said 3 hits, a man goes down. Our slogan is Lusut Saratapos, leak, flow, finish. 3 moves. You don't want to play unless you're training, but you want to know and to get into your muscle memory and your psyche that this is what you're doing, and it's the most safe and effective. Not just effective, not just safe, but safe and effective. And your style of doing your inside block doesn't matter. It's just that if you're doing it, you're in the right range, the right gait, the right time, the right foot is forward, so you're not getting hit while you're doing it, right?
Right.
You have maximum safety and range and gait control. Right. So I want the students, you're asking me about what do I want for the students is long answer, but to really focus on that. And in fact, footwork is the most important thing. And most styles just talk about footwork. Oh, we have the triangle, we zone, we'll put a
Mm.
plus and an asterisk together and
Yeah,
have,
asterisk and a plus sign,
right. And
and
it's like, okay, but what does any of it mean? Right. Well,
yeah,
it means changing your range, which is perpendicular, and your gait, which is sideways.
right.
Right. So
Inside
where are you
outside
going to
gate.
be in relation to the opponent's attack? Do you want to
Mm.
stay in the middle with your male triangle, or do you want to be somewhere else where it's safer? And you can control for that. And I did a video with Bong Avenir where I was demonstrating some of that for him.
Inside outside gate. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then with Professor Bacciacano with swords out in Alex
I
Coast.
saw in the garage there,
But you
and
see, I'm changing the gates and the thing and showing him how to do it. And the reason it becomes natural is because in integrated Escrima, every technique is named with the footwork first. Because that's the most important thing is when you're attacking me, where am I going? I'm either holding my ground or 13 different footwork. And each are going to move me between ranges or gates or both range and gates in a forward or backward or sideways direction. And
right.
each of those only have certain techniques tied to them. That's the only way we train them. So we always have a correct response, right? Chris Sayok said to me, his father, Bo, said to me, rather, on his business card, it said, Sayok Kali correct response training. And I was like, what's correct response training? He said, you train to only have a correct response. And I don't know, he didn't get into it past that with me, but the idea of having a correct response means muscle memory,
Yeah.
And
Sayok with the tapping, bad hand versus correct. I mean, that was always talked about, the correct response. Yeah. And so that, okay. Okay, Dan, I'm going to get to Dan's questions right now. So, future lens of integrated Escrima systems. Like, what do you see as far as the future of it? Like, future goals or the lens or?
Well, I'm not looking to take over the world or to have a huge following, really. I mean, it's just, I'm here to, I feel like my whole thing with FMA has been, for some reason, I don't know why, that I had a vision. No, I was picked by Angel to write, Angel Caballos to write. I never wrote before in my life. And that's a transformative experience because I became a writer, editor, and publisher as a result. I mean, who would have thunk it, and then when I started interviewing the masters in the Philippines, why did they accept me in when many people had said no? I mean, some said no, but then later they came back around because they saw what was produced, right? And that it was the work was decent, and I produced what I said I was going to do, and they were a part of it, and and if they weren't a part of the first one, they wanted to be part of the next one, and they didn't want their legacies to disappear.
Just die out without being heard, sure.
And I felt like, for whatever reason, I'm here. I didn't think about the future, like 2023, and they're all dead. I mean,
Oh no, when you're at
right.
that age, a kid. I mean, that's
and you read about, when I was coming up in the arts, I was reading about all these teachers in Taekwondo and Kempo and Kung Fu and Arnis, and always like, wow, one day I'll meet a grandmaster, and then they pass away and whatever. And so I felt like, for whatever reason it is, for FMA, I'm here to document and promote others over myself, which is all the magazine articles have been others and not about. I never wrote about myself in any of my work, except for the Escrima Disarms book are my theories, but based on the research with the other teachers. And in the back of the book is 30 teachers showing their own disarms, right? So I'm not claiming ownership of this.
No, you've been doing that since 1997. I mean,
or 94 when the Serada book came out.
Or the Serada,
so with integrated Escrima, I hope that people will join the group, the learning program, even if they don't want to engage with me personally, because I don't have an ego about it. But I want that knowledge to go forward, because I'll tell you, when people start the program and they just look at the content and how it unfolds, and all the theory and principles behind in the video to show, and then under it are notes of like what to avoid and why.
Mm.
If people can see, that's like, I feel like it's like the map of FMA, a pan-Philippine perspective, not mostly this style over that style, but here's the strategy, concepts, principles, range, footwork, timing, etc., and do it your own way. But here's what we all lost, because a lot of us came up in seminars. Over here, a lot of us saw Remy, and he was here for, and then gone, and then back, and then gone. And there's
Covered
no
that
time.
extensively.
There
Yeah.
was no time, unless you were in Stockton or LA or Hawaii. There was no time to really learn the basics from the beginning. Remy Presas used to say, and the way he got big was, he said, modern Arnis is the art within your art. So I'll
Correct.
teach it as the weapon art within Aikido, the weapon art within Kempo Karate, the weapon art within Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And then people were using their own stances and postures and footwork and their own flow movements doing Arnis. And that's why there's not like a standard level, during those times, right?
What's so funny? I just had an episode on this. What is the modern? Matter of fact, Rich, like, is there a gray area with modern East curriculum? Meaning, depending on how much time you spent with them,
Pinky
did
and
you
the
get from
brain.
seminars? How much time do you frequent your school during the year,
Right.
and all this? And some folks are saying no, and but here's GM
Pinky
Mark.
and the brain.
What are we
Rich
doing
Parsons,
tonight?
I'm going to answer your question that you messaged me, and to say neither way are you going to make money. Having somebody else do it is going to be easier for you. But if it's your passion, do it yourself.
Yeah.
That was
Folks,
a private response to Rich.
This is the episode I was just referencing, which was just very recent, and it was on the gray area, and it was really interesting as far as the perception of, like, what is the curriculum there, and very interesting for folks who have not seen that episode. Okay, Dan's second question.
Well, you're talking about the curriculum of modern Arnis?
The gray area, like, I mean, and people are saying, well, there's a black belt test.
Yeah.
And so from the black belt test, well, that changed and throughout the decades. Then there was the frequency which he visited your school, how many times you saw them. Was it seminar format?
Right.
Did he come to your school? In addition to coming to your school and doing a seminar, did you get private time with them? I mean, there was all this, and then people are saying, so it was a really interesting. Dr. Kelly Warren had some really incredible comments during it, which really resonated. But I thought Rich Parsons, I was glad to have him on. And
he's a smart guy,
Oh my God!
Looking,
his engineering was coming out, like that whole engineering, and I'm just
like, Remy. I studied with Remy at Joe Bridenstine's Kempo Karate School. That's where I started in high school, in Ardmore, PA. And Remy would come in all the time. Joe was a big promoter for Joe Bridenstine, was a big promoter for modern Arnis up and down the East Coast. He was like always. He ran all the summer camps out here for Remy every year. Winter camp, summer camp. Remy lived at his house, several months at a time. He would just call and say, "Joe, I'm here." Where? The airport. Okay, I'll be there in an hour. No, in Baltimore. Oh, I'll see you in 3 hours. It's like, and Remy'd stay at his house and come and teach class, and he'd teach class every day. You got to stay for the adult class, and then Remy would teach, right? And this is how we learned with Remy. And then I go to Joe's house and we practice and see him, and then see Remy at camp. And Remy had a curriculum for seminars, and after the 2 days, you could get a basic instructor or an advanced instructor certificate, and they were seminar ranks that you can go out and get a group of guys together, like a study group, and teach the basics or teach more advanced stuff. But it's no ranking within white to black. It was a separate thing. And then he had his Dan ranking, white belt to black belt, and it was all out by color. And Joe had all of it printed out, and we all used it to do our testing. Yeah.
That
I
guy, is
probably
he still
still
around?
have it. Yeah, Joe is now up in Vermont. He retired in Vermont. He was Ed Parker guy and Remy Price's guy.
Do you have all that stuff that you're referencing, like through
I have
the
it all,
colors
of
and all
course.
that?
It's all behind me on the shelf.
If you ever
You
get the
see all
chance,
the
you don't mind
FMA books
sharing.
there, all those
I
rows of
know,
FMA
dude, I
material.
know. If you don't mind,
I'm,
and if you have
Patreon, baby. No. but
it's all yours.
no. Yeah,
Man,
there were the empty hand forms, the weapon forms, which were,
those came up. Yeah, if you wouldn't
and
mind, I
those
would
were
love to
based on
see
the
it.
Heian forms of Shotokan, because Remy was a member of the Japan Karate Association. So he developed the modernist forms based on the shape design, the I and the H of the Shotokan form. So,
Interesting.
and instead of, block and punch, it was block, trap, hit to start out the forms and so on. So all of that, is was there. And
If you don't mind, you remember it, I would love to see it.
sure,
Yeah,
we have it all.
yeah. If you don't mind, I'm
We should
gonna.
have Joe on. I'll see if I still have Joe's. He moved and then he got out of the arts. Like, he got tired of it. He retired. But I'll see if I took Dan Anderson over to his house, and before he moved, and we just talked for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours about Remy and modern Arnis.
Sounds like a guy that
yeah,
should be coming on.
Yeah, I'll make a note here. Yeah, I mean, Joe was my
make a note there. Dean promises to sign up for Patreon and help you with it if he can have the curriculum for all the belts, so he can prove his. All right, here's okay.
Hey,
so
I got to prove something now. Come on.
No.
Got to hit play.
No. So I can. All right, here we go. Difference between learning from you in person versus the long distance program.
Yeah. Well, in person, you get the jokes and the side comments, and I'm pretty straight on the DLP. The DLP has every single thing that you need, and then we have like a monthly thing or you can just book some time to sit and do a private with me for me to go over it. You can video yourself doing the techniques after you've practiced them, not like the day of, and you post it into the thing. And then under your video, I watch it and I point out all the good stuff and then things for correction. And in a few days or a week later, you can post it again, and I'll give you the feedback again. And it's very good. And then if you want to come in person, like, it costs a lot to do private lessons all the time, but they're available, right? And then if you want to come out and train with me, that's great. But know some stuff first. So I'm not like, okay, hold your stick like this. We got to go through the footwork. Like, know the stuff, right? So that it's really worth the time to be here, to fly out
when you're coming down there
and spend money in a hotel or whatever you're going to do. Because, I'm not trying to pimp the art. I'm just trying to educate people who want it. And you can, it's all on the videos and like in the descriptors and the downloads and the diagrams inside the platform, the teachable platform, and learn it there as best you can. And then you have to test in person. We can test in person over Zoom if you're far away, which I've done, or you come and test in person here. I'd love it. I just want to see a better level of practice. And I think the better level of practice comes when there's some guidelines to follow, not just regurgitating techniques, right? There's so many really talented FMA guys, physically talented and athletically talented, who are so much better at showing the art than me in their motion, but they're all screwed in their ranges. And it's just so, when I match with these guys just playing around, it's like hit. There's so many problems, so you just really want to be able to type it. Yeah.
I think, no, it's great. And I got a question here from Dragon, and his question is, okay.
4.
Yeah.
We're all 4, man.
No. This is actually good here. Okay. Seems to be a growing talking of emphasizing lineage. Are we at the point FMA will start to have the defined traditional styles like those in karate or kung fu.
Okay. So I've come full circle on this since when I started researching, right? So when I started researching the art, well, when I was training, Kabbalah Serada Escrima, the guy's name's in the title, right? Binias Arnis, right?
Yeah.
Visitacion V Arnis Jitsu, right? Uh, Everybody had their name on it, so you know it's legit, right? But
Yeah.
so, and then I go to the Philippines and I'm trying to get the lineage, right? Like in Kung Fu, even though it could be fake, everybody wants to trace back to Shaolin, right? I mean, whatever. So you know at least 2 generations is probably correct, and after that it's myth or whatever. So in the Philippines, I'm trying to do like, can we trace everybody back to Lapu-Lapu or something? I didn't know what I could find or what it was going to be, but with so many people like in Cebu clustered, so many people in Manila clustered, and in Luzon or wherever, there's got to be a common place that it came from, right? Or that they learned from. And so I was really trying to do that, like with Kung Fu or karate. You could trace Shotokan back to Funakoshi, and then before that, when he learned Okinawan martial arts, what it was before he became Shotokan, and et cetera, et cetera. And you couldn't trace the FMA stuff's one teacher back because they would tell you who they learned from, or they learned it in a dream, came to them in a vision. Nobody taught them. And I would get frustrated because Herminio Viñas would say nobody taught him. But my cousin is Jose Viñas, famous Lapu-Lapu Arnis aficionados. And it's almost the same style. So,
Yeah.
and then he say, yeah,
transformation.
Viñas and Viñas is the same. It's just, what letter are you going to use, V or B? And then, but then after years of training with Viñas, he had retired here to Philadelphia in 1974. So that's how I was able to train with him. But it finally came out that I understood. He didn't misspeak. I understood because that nobody taught him the way that he does the art. The way that he puts it together and the way that he teaches the combinations came to him in his dreams or his thoughts, his visions. Right? Not that he didn't have a teacher, but that person's irrelevant now because what he's doing is different. Right? So it's like if you had a basketball coach in high school, he's your teacher, but is there a basketball lineage? It's like, you have your own way of doing your dunks or your layup, and the way that you do it, you created that way. Maybe it's super special, like Magic Johnson or something. So nobody taught it to you, even though you had a basketball coach.
Even though you had a coach, exactly.
Right. And your coach had a coach, and his coach had a coach. So there's a lineage of basketball, but everybody's doing Arnis like everybody's doing basketball. You pick it up from this group, you pick it up from that group. And it wasn't until really, well, in the 1920s in Cebu, they formed a group, all the different practitioners, but then they all splintered off because of politics. But then after World War II, everybody was like, hey, Aikido came to the Philippines and Shotokan came to the Philippines. And look, they're all standing in lines. They got uniforms on and belts, and the guys in front barking out commands, and they're all doing it. And here's how we can teach a lot of students. So then you see all these Arnisadors in uniforms and belts.
And curriculum, standardization.
And counting out 1, and everybody does a 1, 2, and everybody does a 2. And you could teach, look at the old Koinonia production videos that Leo Fong did of Remy. And he's got an army of people training with him like that. But you can't learn the art that way because there's no sense of what's the correct angle 1. How do you get the mechanic for striking? It's just 1,000 people.
They're just doing,
right. Yeah. So this is where the art starts to lose its kind of thing. But so and now I've come around again because I feel like with YouTube, all the guys, the new masters in the Philippines, my generation and younger, they're all grandmasters now. The new guys are all like everybody else. Their master is YouTube on top of the modern Arnis or the illustration or whatever, and everybody's got combat and ground grappling and jiu-jitsu and everything else because they're trying to compete against the other schools. And if you go to Manila and there's 30 guys teaching modern Arnis, you got to be the one that's got the ground grappling and the combat, or
you better have the tomahawk in there.
The tomahawk. Yeah. Let's bring a Native American weapon over.
You know what just frustrates me is you're absolutely right on all this stuff. You're absolutely dead on as far as the Japanese influence, the watering down started there, and obviously, but this whole YouTube thing, like, it's interesting. This is going way back on the episode, and this guy, he's putting this under Dumag, and I'm basically seeing Anasano blend, BJJ, some wrestling. And I said to the guy, very politely, I didn't want to throw him under the bus. I say, look, is it fair to say that you could use Dumag, you guys are using Dumag as an umbrella term for all encompassing? And he said, yes.
Right.
So, because I'm looking at this and I'm like,
There's an old book that came out by a guy, Nid Anima, called Filipino Martial Arts. And in there, he has a breakdown of like 7 different Filipino grappling things and what they were. It's Buno, Dumag, a bunch of other ones. There's no bargain prices. This is not.
Renee, who's a character, he's selling secret techniques for only 99.9 per hour. So,
how many techniques do we get in an hour? That's what I want to know.
Good question.
Because if it's 100 techniques, that's less than $1 per technique. It's a bargain.
So how many techniques? Let's see what Renee comes back with on this special offering.
I just want to close the circle on this question about the lineage stuff. Yeah. Is that I feel like now with everybody doing what we just talked about, that it's actually what has always happened in the Philippines, that the art is constantly evolving based on the other arts that they came in contact with.
Or right? What's hot at the moment in other countries, perhaps?
Well, yeah, as long as they have access to it, right? Like in the old days, it was just Arnis until the Japanese came over World War II. After World War II, and they set up schools, and all of a sudden there's uniforms and forms and all kinds of stuff, right? And that was the evolution in jiu-jitsu, locks and throws. At the time before that was a Spanish and so forth, evolved it, right? And now it's
MMA, BJJ,
BJJ, karambit, right? So the art is evolving now through YouTube, and I think a lot of people are just grabbing stuff from YouTube anyway, for no matter what the art is. Wing Chun has karambit in it. It's crazy, and ground fighting. So
good or bad?
If this was 1994, I wouldn't have an interest to go to the Philippines and interview those.
If this is what you were seeing
at the beginning, because and I knew about YouTube, because there's nothing traditional or older there, right? I was interested in seeing if Remy priced us as modern Arnis, right? The term modern, what is classical or traditional? And I wanted to see that. What are the farmers doing? What are the little guys the guys in the small barrios doing? What are the guys who have a commercial school? I went to Ernesto Preisas' school, and he's got on there kendo and jiu-jitsu and karate, and it's like every name is on the sign. It was crazy.
I know, but it's like, again, referencing that Dumag, I'm like, first of all, Dumag came from the Ansano Academy. I mean, It's questionable where that's even. And then, when I'm seeing the stuff over there, at least he was honest in saying it's an umbrella term, what they're using over there. Okay. You know what? You can't argue with that. It's not, you know what I mean? So they took the term from Ansano, and now it's all encompassing as far as an umbrella term. But,
that stuff
here's his answer as far as the techniques per hour.
Yeah. Nice. 0.5% technique per 3 hours. Nice. He's got a good plan there. Do it on auto ship, Also Hubud, that's totally made up in the United States in San Francisco.
At the academy.
It has nothing. There's no, and it annoys when people say, "Well, you got to do traditional hubad like we do in the Philippines." Like, it didn't.
You got that from
Created over here and got transplanted over there, and so much stuff like that just was blowing my mind when I was like, "How do you do hubad? What's hubad? Well, you know this. How's your dumak? What? Your panantukan? What?
Your
What's panantukan?
Pananjakman.
Pananjakman. Yeah. I actually wrote an article for Martial Arts Trading Magazine in like 1990, I don't know, 4 or 5, on Pananjakman, the kicks of Filipino, whatever. I'm so ashamed. I didn't know anything.
Kicking a Pananjakman coming
right.
I mean,
it's just nonsense. They're just words, right? Like they're just finding a Filipino word, whether it's Ilocano or Tagalog or Cebuano, and they're just throwing it in to make them, tabak toyak, the nunchuck. Come on, man.
Panantukan, the Filipino deadly art of Filipino boxing.
Suntukan is just a punch, suntuk, right? And Panantukan is just boxing. So, when you have a boxing gym, it'll just say boxing Panantukan. It's just American Western boxing. It's not some Filipino thing with elbows and guntings and all that's out of LA. Not that are bad techniques, but it's not Filipino martial arts, right? It's derived from Filipino martial arts in the United States.
And so, which leads to an argument. I don't want to digress here and go way off track. I had a group interview with some guys, Mali Paolunia, Dwight Woods, and we kind of came up that there's Filipino martial arts, then there's Philippine American martial arts,
right?
And I think there's truth to that. I don't say that it's bad. I just think that's where it's gone.
Well,
right?
Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that's the Brazilian version of Japanese jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's just American. It was just called American Arnis, right?
Yeah.
So when you say Kali, they think California because they know that's where your art came from, because there's no Kali in the Philippines. They say California.
So here's the rumor, and Guy being back in the academy back in the day when the PTK was the curriculum in the 80s. I mean, that was the decade. A lot of that stuff was kind of hoobaloo, and all that was kind of developed when those two got together, and I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, whatever, you know what I mean? But Filipino American martial arts.
So look, here's the problem. Okay, no, I don't want to say the problem. Let's look at the solution. So back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, you can look inside Kung Fu and Black Belt, and there's ads for Leo Gahe's summer camp and Inosano summer camp with him and Gahe and other people, and it says Pikiti Tertia Arnis. Okay?
I got you. Yes.
Arnis.
I know.
I have a copy of Leo's master certificate from the Philippines, and it says Master of Arnis.
Yes.
Okay. And it was signed by Herminio Viñas, one of his teachers. My teacher was his teacher, and Jose Viñas was his teacher.
Wow.
Not. And then when I talked to Jerson Tortal, Nene Tortal, about all this, and I said, he claims it's from you, your uncle, blah, 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 Kali, and they call it Dekiti Tercia, right?
Yeah.
Just different meaning, but Arnis. The Tortals call it Arnis. And I said, what about this? And he says, I can't comment, or I'd be speaking against my relative.
You got it from Dan.
Right. So, and I have a copy of Floro Villabria's Grandmaster certificate from the Philippines, and it says Escrima.
Got over here in America, they saw that Kali term was taken off, and they were going to jump on it.
And now it would have been okay if they just said, we're going to call it Kali, because, when I talked to Ben Largusa about it way back, and I have letters back and forth with him, snail mail before the internet, he would say, Kali is an acronym for Kamut Lihuk, Kali, empty hands, or hand motion rather, hand motion.
Heard that.
Hand motion. It's not, but other people said, it's the mother art of the Philippines, where Arnis and Escrima and Panantukan and Pananjakman and Dumag all come from the mother art. How can you have 7,000 islands with 7,000 dialects? You
And a
go on
mother
a bus
art.
ride for 2 hours, you don't speak the same language, but there's one mother fighting art.
Mother art.
All of them, come on, you know. So my problem with the use of it, when I cared enough, which caused a lot of stress and hair loss, was that there's no such thing as Kali in the Philippines historically. There's no mother art of the Philippines. But if you want to call your art Kali as your version of Arnis or Escrima or Pananandata like Marinas uses, then go ahead and do it. But just don't claim it's a mother art. And
I totally agree. I totally agree. I got on with a dog in a fight, man. You call Arnis Escrima Kali, but the whole mother. Yeah.
Right.
Here, I got a question for you. We're kind of digressing here, but so what? I have a conversation I referenced with you with those gentlemen talking, is there truly a Filipino American martial arts? And we substantiate, we think there is. And not that that's bad, good, or indifferent, right?
It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I believe Dog Brothers can be an argument. Is it Filipino American martial arts?
Yeah, for sure. They whatever skills they learned from Gahe or Inasano or whatever teachers the guys come from, they developed their own way of training and techniques from their engagements that was from American citizens, right? Americans in America through their own training and practice and evolution. And they've created a system of Dog Brother FMA, whatever you want to call it. And definitely, and I would even say integrated Escrima is an American interpretation of a pan-Philippine FMA. I'm not Filipino and I didn't, but, I just examined the movements and the strategies and concepts of the different teachers to find a through line and a blueprint. So that's theirs, but the way I teach it is mine. So I would call it Filipino American. Why not?
I think there is. Yeah. And again, I don't think it's bad, but I just think evolution and where it took off here and how it took off here and the other influences. And I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything. Ooh,
thank you, Elric. Nice to hear you there.
The ghost.
The ghost man. I saw Elric on a video. Elric, I saw you on a video cutting water bottles with your swords, and I thought that's such a precious commodity over there, man. Some fresh spring water. Like, stop breaking the bottle. Drink it and then fill it with tap water and then cut them.
There's an episode hey Renee. There's an episode. We can get a couple of you guys on. And is it Dog Brothers a Filipino American martial art? Let me know, Renee. It'd be fun to have you on again. I'll do episode 355.
But you know what? It doesn't matter if me or the Dog Brothers or you want to say it's Filipino and not American Filipino. That's okay too. We're all in the same family, and we're all doing if there's 100 techniques total in FMA, just to make up a number, we're all doing some portion of them anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Wow, man. I tell you, I love these chats with you. And for the Filipino martial arts community, you like status quo? What would you like to see maybe as far as changes or?
I think the whole community should join my online program
and the Patreon
and the Patreon, and that's it.
YouTube,
so I can retire.
And YouTube, and we'll call it a day, right?
I am not. No, that's the wrong way to start it. I don't track with the current FMA. It's not of my interest. Last time I was in the Philippines was 2015. Met a bunch of the new guys again. I was 2013 and 2015, and I was like, all the elders, not all of them.
From what you saw, it must have been sad, actually.
It is very sad because all my teachers have passed there, right? Batong and Tony and Mang Ben and Jose Mina and Alex Coe. And I mean, just every teacher I trained with there,
That'd be surreal.
as a student has passed, right? And then the new guys aren't really. There's a couple guys in La Punti Arnis, Grandmaster LD Buanjog. He's very good, and he's carrying the tradition of La Punti. He's excellent. But there's a lot of guys there who are just so many. Remy Presas did something amazing. He's like a sorcerer. He trained more people than anybody, right, in the Philippines and in
the Western Hemisphere,
like Europe. Massive amount of students, and every one of them now has a different name for the art. And it's like, so now there's like, because he trained 1,000 people, there's 1,000 new FMA styles. Modern Arnis Dumag, Modern Arnis Mano Mano, Modern Arnis 80, no disrespect. Modern, not saying they're bad systems, but what I would like to see is all the Modern Arnis guys still say Modern Arnis, right? And your club could be called something different.
Your individual club.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Right? Like, but
Datu Tim Hartman is frustrated with that as well. It's that's come up before. Like, but my feeling, I mean, I don't know.
But really, our Filipino martial arts, I think. Well, let's just not say FMA. Let's say Arnis or the stick fighting. Forget the empty hand stuff for what I want to say, because there's not enough evidence yet, in my view, that of the Arnis Escrima stuff. It's everybody is self-expressing, which is fine, right? I mean, that's how it has to be, right? You don't want to be a robot. You want to express on your own height and width and preferences, and you like to charge in, the other guy likes to back up, but it still comes from the same, say, Modern Arnis, right? So, but when you study classical music or painting, you can say, I'm of the Van Gogh school of painting, but what you paint is not Van Gogh, right? You're painting your own expression. You're playing the music your own way, but you're still of that school, right? You're still of the Van Gogh style of painting. You're still of the Modernist style of FMA. You're just expressing it your way. You're still within the Illustrissimo style, because you have those characteristics, right? Or La Punti, you have those characteristics.
Better not do that in KI, though. You're careful of that one, man.
But I'll tell you, never mind. But it's I can only get myself in so much trouble in a couple of hours.
I'm just telling you, man.
I'm not eating.
Them, man.
Yeah. It's when the like people who are like 3 levels lower than me in coming into KI, and we never called it KI. That's a new thing too. Who are telling me like I don't know what I'm doing, and I train with the guy, So it's annoying. And they're like, you're not doing it the way blah blah blah. I'm like, well, Tatang never stood like this, and Tatang never did that. So you're copying somebody else 2-3 levels down, and you have an idea in your head that is not correct.
I'm seriously considering.
I hear that. I hear that. It's I just jumped out right away because of all the politics. I was like, after.
And the guy, what's so funny? The people who truly embrace what Illustrissimo did, far as Praxion, Una Pagata, like and all that, they're not like Ray Floro and all that. They're not KI. He's not KI. And I'm like,
but he's totally KI. So let me tell you something about Raymond Floro. So I like Raymond Floro, right?
Yeah.
But here's some politics that is not fair that happened to him. Okay. And so when I was shooting the photographs and for the Calis Illustrissimo book, right, that Tony and Tupper put together, and I edited their content. Raymond's name and pictures were in the book. Raymond was a direct student of Tony Diego. I mean, they spent a lot of time together, and Raymond studied with Tatang too, right?
Sure.
And there was a sparring match once, Raymond against Edgar, and Raymond almost broke Edgar's ankle, and that created a whole push out of the Bakbakan group and pushed him away. So In the end, what ended up happening was that Raymond's name got taken out of the lineage line in the back of the Calice Illustrissimo book. And Romy Macapagal had some students in there too, under him in that list. And Tony and Tupper took their names out too. They said, this is Illustrissimo based on our line and lineage, which is Tatang to me and Tony and our students, right? So I'm included in there. Burton's included in there. So people of that group, and Romy's included because he studied with Tatan. But listing the students of Romy and the students of that guy and the students of that guy, they didn't want it in the book. And the book came out. So Raymond Floro's photos and his name came out. I felt horrible. I didn't have any choice over it. I was just their editor, and then I submitted it for them. And he was like, "What the fuck?" Excuse my language. It wasn't fair. And then I noticed, Romy and I have known each other very, very 30 years. I don't know. And he even commented under the video with me showing the gate changes with Bong Abenier. Mark Wiley's in the top 5 people who understands Illustrissimo system and blah, 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 blah. But his book came out, and there's not a single, my name's not in there on a single page. And I've always supported him. But I think he didn't include it because I wasn't his student. We were friends, right? And because his students weren't in Tony and Tupper's book. So, but
I know. See what happens when you start doing that? It just perpetuates.
It just perpetuates. And he mentioned other FMA books that were good in his book, but he didn't mention any of mine. And I felt,
I know. It's sad. It just is.
And it happened with Tupper too, right? Like his guys in LA who did his hardcover book in Illustrissimo. I introduced all them to Tupper in 1998 when we shot his videos out in LA for Unique Publications, right? I set that all up for Tupper. And he flew out, Ray Galong, him, me, Alex Coe. They came in from the Philippines. I set them up, got them paid, shot their videos, introduced them to that whole group of LA guys who trained with Tupper in the end. And then they did his book, and not a single mention of my name in it either. And Tupper's whole career basically over here was launched from my work and my promotion of him in magazine articles and books, and including him in other books. And it's like, come on, man, just stop already. The students get involved, and they want to be like a gatekeeper. So they're stripping out other names. So like, you got to come to us for this instead of this. And they have a picture.
You have to think KI though. Why is it like so prominent in KI? And this is why I want to be like, I'm going to help Burton with this project. And after that, because
I hear you.
It's just getting, and you know what's so funny with these guys?
In the middle, he's going to choke me, grab me, throw me backwards. Like,
why do you want to be on center with somebody?
Get outside. But Ed Parker was a big dude. He could be wherever he wanted.
Yeah, so he put his physicality and just figured it would work for everybody. But the whole thing in my opinion, it's a universal concept. I don't want to be on your center. I don't want to have to get down with both legs and both hands and all that.
I don't want to be between your two fighting weapons, right? I want to be
I totally agree. I mean, especially when those short pointy things come out like this, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be on your center. You know what I mean? It's just so wow, this has been awesome. We're going 2 hours and 40 minutes.
All right, let's stop at 11. Let's go 20 more.
Let's do it.
Right. Yeah, and then we'll all go to Elric's for buko juice.
I'm gonna have it's gonna have to be on video for me.
On video. Yeah.
All right, so overall, you're and I get it why you're displeased. I mean, especially in your shoes, you were back there in the Mecca when they're all still alive, and now when you go look at things or you go back over there, that's got to be somewhat, depressing and sad. And what you're seeing, as far as the evolution of today, and that, I mean, like, in my opinion, here's what I think, and just by virtue of doing the channel, getting luminaries such as yourself that's talking about this, talking with David Gould, and I think it's going to get worse. I think, like, who's going to say that? I think it's going to get worse. Am I way out there?
Right now, most martial arts, I think, except for like the ones. Hey, Dino Florence. Of course, I remember you. Except for the family schools, like Taekwondo schools for families or Shotokan school, ones that are they're looking to teach families and to keep a school open as a little business. Aside from them, most martial arts teachers it's all about branding, right? And to brand, you got to do your own stuff. You're going to mix it with whatever. Just like I was saying with the modern Arnis guys in the Philippines, now there's like 77 varieties of modern Arnis, but it's all the same core, and then they're adding in tomahawk and jiu-jitsu and
Gambit and BJJ, and
even though it breaks a lot of the stuff that they're teaching breaks the principles of the art that they were originally in, right? It's like you're falling outside those principles. I don't think any martial art needs to be the end all be all martial art. That's why you can cross train. You can do FMA and get really good at FMA, and then you can go study boxing and be really good at boxing. And
go take some ground,
wrestle or jiu-jitsu or whatever, and get really good at that. And so we don't have to have these martial art wars where like my art is superior because it has everything in it. But if you're trying to make a living and get people to come into the country and train with you or come to your gym, you gotta.
They're all for everything under the sun.
Yeah, it's a branding thing, and you see it in it's crazy. You see it in the meditative arts too. These guys who are psychologists and scholars and well-known are all branding and rebranding mindfulness meditation. They're all teaching the same mindfulness meditation, but I teach radical mindfulness, and I teach nature and mindfulness, and I teach next level. It's like you guys are all doing the same basic technique. Why don't you just go to the next level and go to no mind? Why are you still in mindful? Right? Like they're training to advance, but they have to market different. So they're changing the names and say, well, we do mindfulness chewing a raisin. Well, I do mindfulness feeling clay. Well, BFD, I'll be mindful when I punch in the throat. I mean, it's ridiculous that in meditation, it's the same marketing problem.
Oh my God.
Right? Because everybody can be a guru on YouTube, right? Including me. I mean, I hold myself to the same problem, right? I mean, we're all doing it, I mean, I'm trying my best not to, which I put the teachers above me, but I do call my thing integrated Escrima, and I have a logo. And so essentially there's some branding there too, but it's not misleading branding. And I
think that's what it is, misleading. Like, are you still confined by ethics and moral code and what you're pushing or what you're advocating? And that, where I just see there's just, much to your point, some of these folks, it's just pure branding. They don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's we just need more guys like Rene Navarro, who I'll call tomorrow and introduce you guys.
I gotta write this down.
Since the 60s, he didn't even know that we call it FMA. That's how out of touch he is. He had no idea.
What do you think it was called?
Arnis. I'm like, but no, it's FMA.
There's another American creation, FMA.
FMA, completely. Yeah. Because before, everyone would say, I teach Arnis, Kali, and Escrima. Really? You teach 3 arts? Well, no, I just don't know what to call it. So I'll put them all there for marketing, I
got a nice note going here for reminders. Okay, so Navarro,
Patreon. Everybody has to watch Made in Chinatown on YouTube or Amazon or Tubi or Pluto or Google or Apple. Apple, whatever. And then they have to subscribe to the Mark V. Wiley YouTube channel.
Which is put in the comment section here.
Transformations Podcast. Even if you never visit it, just throw me some love and hit the subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button. And then I was going to say it there. And you guys send me, just because I'm going to make
you want modern Arnis stuff.
Yes. Yes, please.
And I'm going to call Joe Bridenstine for you.
Thank you. And the modern Arnis
curriculum.
Curriculum. Thank you.
Yeah.
And in addition, I'm going to post an FMA discussion of what you might coming down the pipeline as far as Patreon. And
Yeah,
I'm going to give some names. So, folks that you're going to all time greats, right?
yeah.
FMA all
All-time
time
greats
greats
and almost greats, but the
and
sucky guys
almost
we'll
great.
just leave out. Yeah, a lot
All
of
time great.
masters who just didn't level up, but out of respect, nobody challenged the name of saying master. Back in the day in the
And they
Philippines,
were just kind of
because there's nice
stuck in their
guys. Yeah,
read martial arts culture 15 times.
nice. You have to read it in
Football
Braille. It's a
position.
whole new experience.
Oh my goodness.
Rich Tianco, yes, any weapon. They're all the same. All the techniques are the same. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Even knife,
right.
it's mode 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Doesn't
especially
matter.
with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can get him on the first. I mean, who wants to play a hand game around dining room tables? I mean, breaks your house,
Right.
right?
I see
Yeah.
so many teachers, real athletic guys doing, a bazillion techniques. In the old days, the JKD guys would make fun of the karate guys and say, like, not all JKD guys. There was a few, but I don't want to mention names to start problems. But they'd say, like one-step sparring in karate or taekwondo or kempo or whatever was like bullshit because it's like learning to swim on land. The guy's got his fist out there and you're doing 80 techniques. But let me tell you something. When somebody strikes one and they don't move and you do 80 techniques, it's the same friggin' thing. Like, let's just
The
get real.
JKD
Just
guys,
because
a lot
you're
of them,
moving
they're stuck
faster
in
with
reference
a
point.
weapon doesn't mean anything.
I totally agree with you. Yeah,
With
and
the
there's
guy doesn't move.
But even JKD, they're stuck in reference point. A lot of it, they're going here and the whole Pak Sao, Falap Sao, or Chu Sao, whatever.
Same shit.
They're stuck in. So for what they used to make fun of,
they're doing the
they've
same
all
thing.
come full circle.
Right. And a lot of the FMA is the same way. They strike and you do 1,000. The one that I hate the most is when the teacher's demonstrating with the student and the student's attacking, the teacher's defending, and they're going round and round and round. And then the student stops and the teacher does 80 moves and takes them down. And it's like, you see that so often. And it's like, you didn't earn the technique. You didn't earn the takedown. You didn't earn the disarm. No. So don't do it. You're just going in because you students doing the same 4 moves. You track them for those 4, and then they stop because it's your turn to enter and show them how to finish. But you haven't earned that finish. You didn't do anything different to earn it. So one thing I hope that all Philippine martial arts will do is just practice to really get the technique and earn it. Like, because you're going to need that if you need it for self-defense. You're going to have to do it in a way that you've actually stopped the move, deflected it, moved off the line, taking control, immobilized, hit him, took him out, whatever. It's got to be legit. It's got to be legit.
Yeah. No, it's but you know what? We know why. It sells. Mm-hmm. It sells.
Yeah.
It sells, right?
Yeah. It looks super cool.
Yeah,
but it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove skill. It proves that you got good speed and maybe timing or power or flow, but those are secondary to, can you just finish the encounter? So all the drills need to have finishing things to them. They can't be an endless box pattern, right? Or a 6 count or an 8 count or 12 count. There's got to be a way that somewhere, which is how we do what we call a nucleus drill, and we break from the drill to include different aspects. Then you have to end the drill and earn that end. And then the other guy's got to not let you end the drill, right? But it's within a context that it's not just crazy flailing. And like, if you're doing box pattern, you have to say to the one guy, you need to stop him to the outside and finish. And you tell the other guy, you need to disarm him, but do the box pattern and see who gets it, So you have one objective, you've got an objective. Now who can earn their objective in the flow? It's just a way of using the box pattern or whatever, 6 count, 5 count, doesn't matter, as a structural parameter to train how to earn a technique, right? In motion, without the guy stopping for you to get it, right? You have to actually get it. Yeah. A lock, a takedown, a disarm, whatever it is,
You gotcha.
And that's what we call the nucleus drill training. Is we have all these conceptual ideas of how to train those things out of the different flow drills, but you're trying to achieve an end to the flow, like within 3 or 4 or 5 moves, because you're not going to just flowing doesn't get you anywhere. After you can flow, no matter how hard and fast you can do it, it doesn't make you a better practitioner. You have to do.
No, you're better. You got better in that particular. Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, we've had a few conversations on this. The excessive drilling versus the attribute development. Have some of these systems taken drilling too far, where it's got lost in translation as far as objectives? And I see that big issue today in FMA, this mindless drilling, but where's it going to? Yes, there's a skill. You got to be on time and cadence, like you said, knowing your role and all that. I mean, the speed and all that. I'm not saying it's skillless, but but some of the things that we were
once you have that skill, speed or timing or flow or reversing out of locks, getting into whatever, you have. There's no sense in repeating that anymore. You've got the skill, right? Now you need to apply it into the different things to make it
into the different mix.
Right. Yeah. So on its own, the box pattern, after you can do it, in sequence for 4 moves, and then the 5 move or 6 move one, and then you can do it all out of any numbers, any angles you want. All right, you've got it now. What now? Now what? Like faster, harder? That's not improving.
You've already done that, right?
Your ability to apply the art. Like, don't you have different ranges? So why don't you apply different ranges in it and stop staying in medium range? We got 3 ranges. Can you, can't you do disarms? Try it in the flow when you're going faster. Can you earn a disarm? That's a great place to try it, because it's in a structured place where something crazy is not going to, it's 1 for 1 for 1 for 1. Not you're going to do 7 on me, right? So work out disarms in real time, because you can get them, but you got to train to get them, you got to train to get them. Otherwise, there wouldn't be that much emphasis on disarming and locking and, to get the disarms if it weren't usable, but the training method is gone. And that,
the ability to get,
you have to earn the technique, right? If you only ever do disarms where the guy does a 1 and stops, and you do your inside thing, and disarm, that's fake, right? Like, that's good to learn the mechanics of the art, but then you got to do it where maybe the guy does a 1 as you're disarming, he's pulling out. Maybe he's doing the 1 and switches to a 3, and you got to catch that in the middle of your disarm. It gets interrupted. Okay, so continue with it. You don't stick on the disarm. You've got to. That's part of a new flow, right? So there's all ways that we train that and integrate Escrima that way out of the drilling, but there's always ways to do that, to really punch in your skills in different ways, and broken rhythm, broken timing. As a feeder, right? I give you 1, you do your counter. I give you 2, you do your counter. Just say it's 1 and 2, and you do your counter, and I let you do your counter. And you do 1, I'm on 2. I didn't let you finish your counter. You don't know when I'm not, but you have to react to it and finish a counter.
Yeah, right.
Right. So I'm your coach. I'm not just a dead partner. I'm coaching that timing. Sometimes I wait, 2/3 to the next change, and I'll switch on this 2/3, not on the full beat, right? Or sometimes I'll go back to 2 and right back to 1, and you've got to go back. So it's not just practicing Australia or a roof block, and then
we're getting in.
What if, right? So all of that kind of structure of training is built into integrated Escrima. That's how we train and integrate the timing, integrate the earning. The point is you have to earn your technique, all of them, right? After you have the mechanics of it and you have a flow somewhere, you have to learn that, and it's a stage to learn it. And when you can do it on 1 to 2. Then you do an angles 1 and 3, and then you do angles on 2 and 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, and I start breaking it, and then 4 and 5, and then it's free flow, breaking or not breaking. You don't know when I'm going to.
No.
And it may not be that I'm moving my weapon. It may be that I check your arm and slam it against your body. Now how are you going to get out?
Now you got to get off.
Because when I'm going to do a technique, who says he's not going to counter me?
Yeah, 100%. No. Right. Which brings me up. Question here, kind of a broken rhythm, all that.
Right.
Why don't I see a lot of folks trying to, which were Illustrissimo, just watching the vids and what he was doing? Why are folks not doing that?
Right.
Why
Because
are
it's
they not
really hard
doing
to do.
so
Yeah.
that so
So
this is okay. Okay, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I talk too much.
This is why I'm alluding. This is what frustrates me, and because this is what I feel, and this is where I got a lot of flack, where I just kind of backed off because it just was like I wasn't really out there to create arguments or hurt anybody's feelings. But one of the things I was noticing with in regards to CAD, like making it easier for the students, but I'm not seeing I mean, like I'm not seeing them even try to emulate what Illustrissimo used to do with their program.
Yeah. So one is you have to learn how to, okay. First problem is in all FMA, I see it as everybody's just trying to memorize the techniques, memorize the counters, right? So they're stuck at the level of memorizing, and then they're stuck at the level of trying to be really fast and quick in those techniques. So they get comfortable in a mode of standing and moving where they can be comfortable doing the art. But if you want to train the broken rhythm, the praction, the una pregada, right, reloj de arena, all these techniques, the broken timing, hitting in the gaps, which was Illustrissimo's forte, you have to learn how to train that. And you can't get there from doing this, right? What got you to this skill is not going to get you to that skill. You have to do something different. That's what I'm saying. After you have the flow, you got to do something else with it because you're not going to get anywhere else just doing it. So when Tatang was hitting me, he said, I was doing this stupid zoning shit, that we all talk about. I don't mean to talk bad on, but Tatang said,
No.
you're going to die doing that with blades. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He said, you stop zoning away from the blade, walk into my sword. I'm like, you're out of your mind, fool. That's my inside voice,
yeah, right.
And he said, don't be afraid. And I said, okay, first of all, your sword is rusty. It's spring steel from the Jeeps from World War II, and it's got dents in it. It's all rusty. And I'm going to get, tetanus.
God knows what disease, right?
Yeah. And you're like, I don't know, 70, 80 with cataracts. I'm not walking into your sword. You're going to hit me by accident, right? So he put me up against the wall, and he said, don't move. And he's just swinging his sword up like this on me and like this. And it's like, and I'm like, I can't go backwards. Don't sneeze. Nobody walk by and say, hey, Tom, what? Mark's dead, right? Like, and you're just sitting there like, don't shit your pants. Don't shit your pants. Don't shit your pants. Don't pee. Just don't. And he said, don't move. And he's swinging. And he says, okay, are you afraid of my sword? Yes. Do it again, do it again, do it again until he could see me relax. Like, okay, the sword is this close and all these angles. And he said, okay, now walk in. And he said, when you walk in, then you're stopping me here or cutting under here or coming in over top here like he does, not waiting and zoning out and angling and trying to deflect and all this other stuff. That it's the misapplication of the stick technique to a sword technique. It's a misapplication. The way it goes in FMA, it's got to go down. It's got to go from the sword to the stick.
Yeah.
It can't go from a stick to a
from
sword.
The stick to the sword.
Right.
Gotcha.
So I always teach it as a sword, meaning these knuckles are forward. Even when we do a stick, even though you can abanico and hit with the flat side, I don't, because I don't want to ever hit with this flat edge or the flat end of the
blade. They're always the knuckle orientation.
And I don't want to assume. So all the stick blocks that aren't actually sword blocks done with a stick, I don't teach, because I don't want to mistakenly a guy swings just a machete and I do the wrong thing and my fingers are gone or the stick is or something, right? So, and Tatang made that quite clear when he was teaching me how to move into the gaps. And it's a training method that the newer generation doesn't have because he's not here and Tony Jago's not here. And when Tony and Tupper and all the guys were trying to put the system together, because Tatang didn't really have a way of teaching. He just had a way of doing. They were cataloging the moves, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, here's Australia, here's Tumbada, here's Florete, here's Boca de Lobo, here's Media Fraile. Well, that's all out of context of the greater system, right? You can't pull Media Fraile by itself out of the context of the range, the footwork, the gait, and is it sword or stick? You have to have it in the context or you don't understand the Illustrissimo way. And the modern guy, the younger generation, does not understand the Illustrissimo way. What they have is Tony's secondary way or, Tupper's way or something else's way. Right. Which is not that the other thing. And not that Tony or Tupper didn't know it. They knew it, but it takes a long time to get students there to teach it. And most don't stick around. So
that's the thing. And you know what? And that is my conclusion. And the reason why I've come to that, when I did the KI series, when I've done all these episodes, watching that, it was definitely dummied down. Definitely for the students and all that. And you know what? I guess in a way I kind of understand it, but in a way it's sad that I think it's gone. Like my original question to you, is KI gone? And
the only person I see really teaching it is Romy Macabagal. So, he's got the content. I don't know if any of the students have, because I don't really communicate with, so I say I don't know, not in a passive aggressive way, but really I don't know if they have.
No. I know. Yeah, you're not in touch with them. No, I get it.
Right. Yeah. So I really don't know, but I know that Romy has the knowledge, right?
Yeah, he was definitely, the academia, absolutely, as far as the concepts and
right. But I don't see, I just don't see on I guess YouTube anywhere that anybody is moving like that, right?
No, I'm not seeing the broken rhythm. I'm not seeing the stress and finding, and
it's like it got codified and that's it. It's the same as every other Filipino martial art, right? Right.
Sadly, I don't think you're wrong. Sadly, I think it was one of the later ones to kind of get there. But unfortunately, I think which is, it's sad. There's failures. Believe me, man. I failed many times where you're trying to just find that gap or that just where you need to just adjust. But I think there's also a lot of these folks don't want to go through the failure, or the teachers don't even want to put the students through the failures.
Right. Tony Diego had the problem that anybody who came to see him, he'd let him videotape and he'd do his best techniques. And they'd be like, man, you're so awesome. And he'd do more techniques and more techniques and more. And then he'd start making up techniques that were still cool. But people weren't coming and asking, like, what's the essence of this art? How can I learn this art? How can I train this art? After I do Australia, Pluma, whatever it is, Fraile, what's next? How can I apply it more deeply? And Ray. Oh, I don't know, Ray.
He's got to be Ray Floro.
Roy Harris, maybe. I don't know. But Ray, I don't know who's Ray.
I'm gonna assume Ray Floro.
Oh, Raymond Floro. Yeah. Raymond Floro changed too because he had that bad politics with the KI guys, and it's like, well, shit, why should I stick with it? I'll just do my own thing.
Oh yeah, but I see what him do is better. I gotta be honest, man.
Yeah,
it's better when I'm seeing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
One guy that Tony Diego trained as his disciple was Tom D. Tang.
In Canada,
but it was Tom's gym, Tom's building that Tony taught in. That was Tom's space that he made a gym for Tony in Chinatown. And Tom trained harder than anyone. There wasn't a class or lesson where
that's what I heard. Yeah.
And he's a real quiet guy. He's not out there pushing himself as a big head of
no social media presence. I know.
He is very talented, and he learned the art very thoroughly from Tony. So I would say if he's got students in Canada, maybe they're holding
He
it.
does. He's got a few. I mean, Louis Lindo is here. I know they kind of work out together. I mean, no, he's. I mean, I've heard nothing but great things about him.
Yeah.
This is true. This is a true comment Ulrich's making on Brandon. Brandon definitely teaches on the far as the blade base drawing out here. You know, so that's true.
Yeah, the Illustrissimo Abanicos were done diagonally mostly. That way you could turn the blade to hit rather than flipping the flat sides, right?
Yeah, no,
top to bottom, quarter to top quarter, and reverse. Yeah. So, but you know, with the blade, you just do the Abanico once. You don't fan like you do with the stick.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You get it where you want, and then you finish the encounter because he might kill you with his blade. I mean, you got to keep the plot in mind when you're training, right? And not just the ridiculous stuff. So,
especially with those sharp, pointy things, right?
The sharp, pointy things, yeah.
Man, this has been
cool.
Absolutely. I mean, I love it. Tell the family that I apologize that I stole you for 3 hours, but I'm gonna have to when I download this and put it in, I'm gonna say watch in segments, but must watch, just watch in segments.
Yeah.
You know, but this has been wonderful. So do you have your to-do list?
I got my to-do list, all kind of modern Arnis stuff. And
so the Patreon
and Renee Navarro. And you get all kind of stories about Tinga, you know, Guillermo Tinga.
Absolutely looking forward
and
to
about
it.
the Arnis guys.
Yes.
Ando Cabronai and, you know, Cabronai. So Renee's he's a treasure trove, man. 82.
I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. And then give me, I'm going to make that.
I got to stay on and cover everything. Yeah.
What's that?
Robert Small says, got to stay on and cover everything.
I'm going to make that post on Patreon for you and FMA discussion.
Okay. Yeah, let's see what.
So I'll put some of the bigger names that coming down the line. These are some of the bigger names you cover. I'll throw Ben, obviously Illustration Ben.
All the guys in the book, right? Plus Remy. Exactly. All the guys who have a chapter plus Remy.
Plus Remy. Good.
Plus a bunch of other guys. So I'll give you the other lists.
Awesome.
Of guys. And yeah, I mean, that would be, I want the content to be delivered and out for everybody.
Yeah.
But I can't just do it all. It's just too much work. I mean, you know.
No, I know.
Yeah.
This is why I want to get. I want to
create a hobby. You know.
I want to create a following for you. Get people like knowing about. I'm going to pin the post.
Yeah.
Kind of respect. And then when you're ready to go, at least there's been some attention brought to it. And so definitely.
And yeah, awesome, man. Awesome.
Well, always, we got to do this
every week on Monday. No.
We got to do this more often. Yeah, I'll see you Monday. No, but I could definitely see like in a month. Well, actually, there's a perfect excuse to bring you back on when you're ready to launch this.
Yeah, there we go. We'll talk all about it and who I've got to start the first 10 or 12.
Let's do it.
Things and what's going to be on the videos, right?
You think you need a month?
No, 2 weeks.
You let me know and I'll bring you back on. We'll do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And you know, I have a clip of I don't know if other people have seen it. Mung Ben Lima sneaking up on Tatang with a stick. Tatang turns around and just disarms him.
I've seen that.
Yeah. That's a cool one.
Yoda,
man, he's like deadly. Plus stories.
For great Jedi.
Stories on those videos, right? While there's pictures and video behind. I'll tell, but I'd like to take the videos and be like, look what he did here. Look how he changed this. Look where this gate changed. Look what this range changed. Look how he walked toward the thing this way.
That would be awesome.
Right? And give it as a tutorial, because I think that's more important, is to see what they're, you know, what actually they're accomplishing in those X amount of moves, rather than just, oh, it's cool to see Tatang do this. It's like, what was he doing there that made it special, right?
That's what Burns doing for his program.
Yeah.
Burns doing his program. He's whatever he shows, he's going to have a video when he was over there to back and substantiate what he's doing.
That's perfect.
So they can't just say like, "Well, no, Burns not wrong." Exhibit A.
Right. Right. Right.
All right. Well, we'll be in touch. So, again, love it, appreciate it, folks. He will be back on when we're going to focus and push his Patreon. So, yeah, you let me know when you're ready to put the first batch. We'll get you back on.
I'll put up a page on the TambuliMedia.com website that says what's going to be in it and a button so people can see like, okay, we've got Tatang and Mung Ben and Remy and Jose Mina and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy coming, and here's what's going to be in each thing: 76 pictures, 7 minutes of video, or 1 hour of video and a breakdown of this. So some guys might get 2 or 3 or 4 appearances over time because I'll keep each video to 30 minutes or an hour. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's a shame.
Oh, he doesn't teach anymore.
That's a real shame.
Boy.
Wow, that's really, man.
I haven't seen Tom in a long time.
KC, you know what though? I hope maybe KC and Louis are going to pick up the pieces.
Louis Lindo. Yeah.
I hope those two would pick up the pieces. Wow, that's really too bad. Oh, we got Michael. Hey, Mike, Guru Mike from, I'm not mistaken, Ohio.
Nice.
Good guy there, man. Yeah, good guy. All right. Well, awesome. Again, thank you so much. Loved it. You're gonna be back on sooner and later, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, don't close your podcast until.
Yeah. I'll just keep
that for now.
Yeah, but you have to sit in the chair with the ice pack though. You're gonna have
Here's my ice pack because of my headache tonight.
So they could just they could just come on and they'll just
warm now. It's warm now. Oh well. Thank you, Dean. I appreciate it, and everyone who stayed on for the 2-3 hours
for the duration. Yeah.
I really appreciate
it. Well worth it though.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
And everybody who left early, I don't like you anymore. So.
Just double their
Patreon fee. Yeah. Cool.
All right, GM. You take care.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye.
Peace to everyone.
Wow. I think that might be the longest episode. I think so. Any rate, though, yeah. So downloading that. So look for the post-Anthony discussion. Definitely going to be helping push with this Patreon. That I think what he's got there is just absolutely phenomenal. Man. And I hope he does it. So we're going to do all we can to assure that happens and help him out in that regard. Discounts, absolutely. You should definitely get a discount. All right, guys. Yeah, it was long. Yeah, I agree, Jay. Long, but definitely worth it. So I'm just going to focus that when I download, put on the FMA discussion, watch in segments, 2 to 3 segments. So. But awesome, guys. Thank you. All those who stayed and watched. And who is next? Oh, Saturday. Me. And why is his name escaping me? Hold on here. I can tell you right now. Wait a minute. It's coming up. It's pulling up my. Okay, here we go. Eugene Samuel. And Braddix, Maestro Braddix, and Eugene. Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Test run, I believe, Friday. That's the next episode, though. Yeah, so definitely check that out. Anyway, but yeah, all right, folks. Yes, watch for the post-Anthony discussion pinned and all that. Okay, guys, I will see you. What's this? A small portion of the Patreon proceeds will do. Actually, Renee is supposed to You supposed to do GoFundMe for my blinds. I'm not sure how it's working out. I'm gonna have to talk to Renee though. He was supposed to do that for me. Yeah, yeah. Well overdue on the new blinds though. Definitely gotta do that. All right, guys, take care.